Hey, Wanda, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. Every once in a while, I'm in my Jeep. Been having a very complicated, oh, couple of, well, I don't even know the time period, but you know my story, Wanda. But yeah, so I'm on my way. Just got to halfway to Atlanta, and for some reason, my Jeep will steal the cell phone, like the cell phone signal, and then it goes somewhere, like it just goes somewhere mysterious. So I was just checking. But okay, so today we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, forgive the last couple of days off. I had to finish moving my wife and I had to finish moving our stuff out of Memphis, and it was the most dreadful move of my life. It was just the stuff just never ending. Um but it's done. And so I'm back. So today we're going to talk about allies. This is a very important space um, for our lineage. We need to realize what Dr. John Henry Clark said years ago. He said, "You have no friends." He said, "If you want a friend, look in the mirror." Uh, he was saying a whole lot with that. Dr. Clark was because one of our biggest problems is the need for friendship, the need for allies. When the truth of the matter is, uh, um, with respect to my studies, those of you who don't know me that well, I teach a section of ancient world history. I'm licensed to teach world history, and I'm a historian, licensed historian. Well, my study of the world, as far as academic canon has it written down, there's no such thing as friendship. Every group, you name a group that you think is a friend. Let's say the Japanese and the Germans during World War II, they weren't friends. They were allies based on what? Based on finesse, based on what they could steal. And that's the real harsh rub of humanity is ethnic groups don't have friends. They have strategic, what I like to call strategic allies. Now, watch somebody steal my term of art. Strategic allies. And the moment you're not useful, you're no longer my friend. So, foundational Black Americans, we come from a very humble culture of helping. I think that has something to do with that Kemetic lineage, but I'm gonna leave that alone. So let's deal with the topic. Do FBAs have real allies? Was Sheila Jackson Lee an ally? I saw Sheila Jackson Lee when I was a very young law student um, at the Congressional Black Caucus. I actually went there. I had a mentor named Marion Barry. Y'all heard of him? He was my mentor, and so was Charlie Rangel. Um, when I was a very young imbecile. I thought I knew more than I knew. But anyway, years ago, I was at the Congressional Black Caucus in D.C. and Ray Nagin was there. Ray Nagin, for those you don't know, you can look him up, but he was the mayor of New Orleans. Now, people, I don't know Ray. People have a lot of things to say about him. I don't know him from Joe, but I remember this is in 2007. Ray was at the Congressional Black Caucus crying, and he didn't look like the type of dude that would cry. He wasn't like weak, but he was literally crying to the Congressional Black Caucus for them to bail him out, to help him, lend him some type of help in New Orleans because it was post Katrina, and according to Ray, certain groups were stealing land from foundational Black Americans, and I witnessed nobody help him, and I was so confused as in the early 20s, like why is this happening to him? But I'm using that to posit that we don't have any allies. Or do we? What do we think about that, Wani? Do we have allies?
No, we don't. And it's fine because we don't need anybody else. These are people don't help each other. So we can already see what they're about. So, no, we don't need allies. But if they want to be an ally, I can tell them how to do it. So we'll get into that in a minute. But if they want to be an ally, I can instruct them. But the conversation that you hear about, well, Trump doesn't like you, no one cares about who they like. We don't know these people, but the conversation coming from a lot of people is so childish. It sounds like we're in third grade. Like such and such doesn't like you. Kamala doesn't like anybody. She doesn't know us. None of them know us. Okay, so it's not about liking, it's about making strategic moves for your group. And unfortunately, we don't have the same agenda as most Caribbean and Africans have. They have a completely different agenda and things that they want to happen. And the only reason we're noticing is because we took our heads out of our butts and started saying, wait a minute, why are we trying to get immigrants to come over here and take everybody in America's jobs? We finally caught on. We can't go along with their agenda. This is our country, and our agenda is the most important and only agenda that matters. Their agenda doesn't matter. They came over here, meaning that they voluntarily came here. So if you don't like America, you don't get to complain about the agendas here. Take a seat. Take a seat. You already got your reparations. It happened when you got off of your boat here. We're your reparations. You don't get to come here and continue to complain when you came from a place that looks, everybody looks like you. Everybody looks like you, and you're going to come here and talk about the cops see me and blah, blah, blah. Well, we're going to talk about what you can do to be of assistance without getting in our way. Don't get in our way. Don't get in our way because you'll be gone. We'll just keep on advocating for you to get the hell out of here, and you will go. Guarantee you that. You're not going to stand in our way politically at all. We have enough enemies, and I'm not going to look at them joining in. That's not going to happen.
I hit the wrong button. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. And I was gonna post. Of, I'm towing a big trailer, so I love my Jeep.
Oh
Um,
my God.
yeah,
I
but
keep
like,
forgetting you're driving.
yeah. I'm towing a big trailer. Like I have a Jeep Gladiator. I friggin' love it. I was always a sports car dude, but like I finally get.
Is that a countryman's truck?
It's kind of like a well, special forces Marine Corps like
That was a military guy truck. Got it.
needs a machine gun on top, but it's just so perfect because it does like
Hey, Molly.
yeah, I'm so used to being the dude with like little race cars and stuff. And like I didn't really realize that automobiles can be useful. Like you can tow stuff and so but I'm just saying I'm towing a trailer, so when I turn it does the other way. So y'all forgive me, I hit the wrong button. But um I was led to think about what John Clark said. Dr. Clark said, if you want a friend, look in that mirror. um what Wani said was so fucking true. Like if we could just, excuse my French, but if we could just get back to common sense. My grandmama didn't have a third grade education, but she said, baby, sweep around your own front door before you sweep around mine. How that translates to what we're talking about is we need to help each other before we go help other people. My whole life, I'm an 80s baby to give you an idea how old I am. My whole life, I've witnessed foundational Black Americans go out the blue to help other groups. And then I've been in the hood my life, even when I, got my little credentials or whatnot and got my little jobs or whatnot. I've always, this is the first year of my life where I've worked at a PW, predominantly white institution. First year of my life. And years ago, about 11 years ago, when I was in law school, I worked at a PWI law firm. But the most of my career has been in a ghetto on purpose. So I'm saying that I have cred with being in the hood, and like I'm saying to say what I'm trying to say is I've I have not witnessed in large scale foundational Black Americans help kids in the hood. Like it's always me and a couple of other teachers, maybe a philanthropist attorney or something helping kids in the hood. Like I've seen people just thumb their nose. I'm talking about foundational Black Americans, thumb their nose at foundational Black American children and then turn around and try to help another group of people and brag on it. That shit happened to me yesterday, man. I was at a let's just say somebody in my family has a medical practice in Memphis, and this medical practice is in a very tall, beautiful building. And this person wanted me to go to her office and get some stuff out, and I was like, "Cool, I'm the dude with the truck." So I went to go get some stuff out, and I went upstairs in some sweatpants, a hoodie, and I had my jacket from the Total Force community that had my little flight badge on it and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And I had a headband on, and I walked up there, foundational Black American lady at the desk. I'd never seen her before. She said, "Can I help you?" with this old ugly look on her face. And I said, "No, you can't." She said, "Who are you?" I said, we own this building, this property right here, and I'm coming to get something out of it. You need to know anything else?" But the whole point of it is, I witnessed how she was acting with Caucasians and other groups that walked up there, whether they were clients or attorneys or medical doctor, whatever. She had a whole different demeanor. She saw me, and I guess she thought I was off the street trying to rob or something. Didn't know that I owned the goddamn. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to stop this. We are responsible for each other, for Christ's sake. And you know what? You can say what you want about me, but I've always been on a 10 toes down, trying to help my own kids. 'Cause I love the hood. That's where I'm from. That has a lot to do, more to do with my aunt June than it has to do with me, because she taught me right. But back to the topic at hand. Was Sheila Jackson Lee an ally? I'm gonna say no. Goddamn. Period. I seen with my own eye Ray Nagin up there begging for help, and she didn't roll her eyes, but everything but. Um, can we think of one ally outside the foundational Black American community in a position of power who's helped us? That's a real question. Can anybody think of one?
No, no, I can't.
Uh,
John Brown,
John Brown. What was John Brown's lineage?
white.
Oh, yeah, the John Brown. Yeah, damn right. And I wrote a whole article on him in my book. I was like thinking, okay, yeah, John Brown. Um, and there's an interesting story behind John Brown. I'm so glad you brought that up, Wani. There was something spiritual. If there's somebody in the room that's not familiar with John Brown was a white uh, abolitionist. He didn't believe in slavery, and he had a family and a bunch of children. And John Brown said one day that God spoke to him and told him that slavery was wrong. Well, that's very fascinating, because nothing happens in a vacuum. Our brother Tariq Nasheed talks about the Majara spirit. In 1800, I think it was Gabriel Prosser. If somebody remembers better than I do, let me know. I'm on the road. I'm not in my library right now. But um, Gabriel Prosser said, "I've had enough of this shit," and started a coup against the white slavery power structure. Now, a couple of Sambos turned on him and turned him in under Meritorious manumission, which we'll talk about on another space. We've talked about it before. And they hung Gabriel Prosser. Well, not long after that, I think it was 20 years from Gabriel Prosser to Denmark Vesey. Denmark Vesey said the spirit hit Denmark. He said, "This shit's wrong," and he started a coup. Guess what happened? The same shit. Some Sambo said, "Let me see what I can get. Let me turn his ass in and overthrow this movement and get my 30 pieces of silver." And they hung Denmark Vesey. Same story. Well, not long, in a shorter increment of time, maybe 10 years after that, fact check me on that, Nat Turner had the same vision of slavery being wrong, but Nat Turner was wise in who he was selected to be in his movement. Well, Nat Turner had a coup against a white supremacy system, and that was successful. Well, the history book says that Nat Turner um, executed 50 Caucasian slave ownership class members. I don't believe it. I believe it was more than that. They finally caught up with Nat Turner vis-a-vis somebody, telling on him, um, and hung him. And as our brother Tariq Nasheed said, they sold his body parts at the auction. They boiled his bones and sold oils and whatnot, and tonics based on this. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with that type of lineage, which makes sense if you think about the Georgia Corporation. To put context to that, during the Georgia Corporation, um, a bunch of degenerates and lunatics were sent over here to manage us. Those genes don't just go away, but I'm gonna leave that alone before I ramble. After uh, Nat Turner, guess who got the spirit? Guess who got the message? Was a white man named John Brown that Wani was talking about. John Brown said slavery is wrong, and I'm gonna give my life and the life of my children to stop it. And that's what the fuck he did. He sacrificed many of his sons died in that movement to free us. So like Wani said, yeah, we did have a friend, and ironically, that's very powerful, Wani. Why? Because some of our closest allies, and I want y'all to hear this shit correct, because I mean what I say. Some of our closest allies in this movement have been white Americans in a lot of ways, and this is gonna be controversial. People gonna get mad at me. I don't give a damn. It's the truth. I don't hate the messenger. It's been white Americans have been our closest allies. Let me give you another one. William Tecumseh Sherman, General of the United States Army, right? Um, I think that's why the system pits us so hard against each other. But back to John Brown. One more thing, and I'll shut my mouth. When John Brown died, he a historical canon says he put a curse on America, and there's a song. The coming for the glory of the Lord. Da, 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 da. But anyway, he cursed. John Brown allegedly put a curse on America for chattel slavery, and after his death, the Civil War popped off. John Brown said something. I'm paraphrasing him. He said something like, um, uh, "Your sons and daughters, you've been killing the sons and daughters of Black Americans. Now it's time for your sons and daughters to start dying." And after his death and the death of his sons, the Civil War popped off. And guess who? Guess the majority of people that died in that Civil War. You can do the math on that. Go
Now,
ahead. Oh, go ahead.
which I was going to say, which group was always helping us with the Underground Railroad? Was it the Amish or the Quakers? Because I've been
Quakers.
listening. Quakers. Yeah, so I think when we're talking, it was John Brown a religious person, do you know?
He was.
A lot of the white people that were helpful really took the Bible, you know, for the real meaning behind it. And but unfortunately, 99.9% of people that are Christians don't. That's why you saw all the Klan members in the church with their hoods on. Most of them are just hypocrites, and they, come up with reasons to justify slavery by saying that we're not human and therefore should be enslaved. So that's what it is. It's like if you have a real conviction and you really are following the Bible and you're a true believer, then of course you're going to think slavery is wrong. But if you're a hypocrite, you're just going to keep coming up with excuses and reasons, and you're going to have your Sally Hemings on the side, and at the same time be rooting against her people, which is unfortunately what most people of European descent do. And it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's really a reflex action that I don't think can ever be cured. I don't think it's curable. I don't think there's anything that you can do. You can't marry it away. You can't date it away. You can't hump on them like a dog. You can't do anything to get rid of the rape. You can marry them and they'll call you a name. You can date them, they'll call you names. You see what happened with Halle Berry. Now she's a wealthy woman and she married that white guy, and all of a sudden he was running around trying to straighten his daughter's afro puff and calling her the N word. And that was, kind of off putting because they're in a different income bracket, but it doesn't matter. And income brackets have nothing to do with happy marriages at all. And it doesn't, marrying people is not going to stop them from their built in, dyed in the wool racism. They can't help it. And I don't expect them to ever. I don't expect anything from them. If they're if they're helpful, fine. Sign up. But I don't expect it, and unfortunately I don't trust it. Okay, who is next?
Go ahead, Welsing. Welsing, can you hear me? Hey, Wani, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure it ain't my phone acting a fool.
Sure.
While Welsing's getting organized, let's
Yes,
go
I
ahead with me.
can hear you. I can hear
Oh, go
you.
ahead.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Um, I am an ally. I've always been an ally. I've never, hidden it. I think from what is this 24 for 5 years since I didn't start, quote unquote, start in Twitter Spaces. I, quote unquote, started um in the what you call the clubhouse. Is where I got to know a lot of people, and I introduced myself from the very first day, and it was in a room um, uh, about Dr. Stephanie Jones Rogers' book, They Were Her Property. And it intrigued me because I had, before joining Clubhouse, I read the book and I couldn't find a soul to talk about the book. And then when I signed up for Clubhouse, the very first time I got in, I saw this room about the book. And I just knew that I had found like-minded people. I am an ally. I was born in New York City, but my father came here in 1953 or 54 from Cuba, and my mother came here in 59 from Jamaica. I I have caught hell uh, from Clubhouse even nowadays. Um, I have never been inconsistent. I live this because I was raised an ally. I wish everybody, there's a lot of people who may not have been exposed to people of my parents' ilk, but they were of a certain type of ilk that, when I have shared a little bit about how I was raised, and it is all the truth. Like we just celebrated Thanksgiving. I have said a couple of times in various rooms that my father did not allow us to celebrate Thanksgiving and believe this nonsense about pilgrims, because he always said pilgrims have nothing to do with you or black people. And it was three kids that my parents had, myself and my two siblings, and, when we were of age, we had to, at the Thanksgiving table, share something that somebody black contributed to this country that was great. And that's what we did. We gave thanks. That tradition has been passed on now to my niece and nephew. Um, I have, uh, it breaks my heart to hear that people feel there are no allies. I'm not in anybody's way. I uh, don't insert myself in Black American business in a sense, meaning that think that I could do it or say it or do whatever better. Um, there are things that I am currently doing that I cannot share. I'm under NDA. That is for the Black American movement, and it's going to be huge. Um, uh, I I'm a business minded person. I'm a very serious person when it comes to business. Um, and I've always lived. I was raised black first. I wish everybody could have met my father. It he I didn't realize then, as I've only realized now in the last 5 years how great he was because of all of you. And just if I don't, I was told by somebody, and I will not, mention the name, that every time I get into a space, I'm supposed to introduce myself as a non-FBA. Um, you know, that to me is like being a slave on everybody's digital plantation. If I can't share my character and my integrity and my goodwill intention and my allyship and my support and my love, if that's not good enough, then I will leave all the spaces. But I have been abused in by some certain people in these spaces, and I'm not going to lie about it. I have been mistreated and undermined. And I think I've shared within this space that at one point, about what is this, 2024, about 4 years ago? Yeah, no, 3 years ago, 3 years ago. My life and my family's life was threatened. I take that seriously because they involved my family. And so I had to. Hmm, who's asking me? I can't see.
I think that was Nikki.
Oh, hi, Nikki. Because of my allyship, and I was not supposed to go to Washington D.C. to march. because I wanted to join the march in Washington D.C. for reparations. And they felt that I wasn't, because of my lineage, um, uh, I was threatened.
Wells, and obviously you're an ally. I'm not, and I don't want it to seem like it's talking about you.
No,
I'm talking about broader spectrum. I'm really hint.
oh no, I understand.
I'm really hinting at something, and maybe I need to not be cryptic and just get straight to the fucking point.
Yeah, because it is a little bit more cryptid. I'm was looking at it. I think we probably should have went over a little bit more. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, when
let me
I
be.
look at what
I've
I
Oh,
wanted
go
known
ahead.
to
her
add,
for a while,
I wanted to
Professor.
add
I've
Go
known
ahead.
her
Go.
for a while. She's cool. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to add one.
You're cool. You're cool. Let me
No,
get straight to the
but you know
point.
what? But you know what,
Go ahead.
Professor? With all due respect, like there's a lot of people who are probably shocked because they see me in rooms and they don't realize that I am. A lot of people they can't believe it, and it's like you have to, maybe, maybe I'm in these spaces for a reason to expose some people to show you what real allyship is. Maybe that's it. Because for me, even with those people that have mistreated me, I understand what's behind it and I don't give up. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a love. I can't explain this to you guys except for I'm 57 years old and I have lived this, and among people that have shown my family so much love. And so when I say people, um, there, to your point, Professor, I just wrote something in a post about how Black American people treat one another and how they lay the groundwork and for other people to think that they can come in this country or wherever and treat Black American people the same way is morally wrong. It's wrong and it's correcting itself. And I like there's only a few rooms that I will go into. This is one of the rooms that I will because there's so much scholarship here. This is like a college class here. You can take, I mean, you're not even like the things that you and Nikki and Wani and Mikal, several people in here talk about, you don't even get this in history classes in college, not even at Harvard. You know what I mean?
That means
No,
a
no, no.
lot. Thank you for that.
And I'm not saying this from the bottom of my heart. It is the truth. Not even at Ivy League school.
Did you land your plane or did you
No, no, no.
disappear?
Can you hear me?
I can still hear her.
Oh,
Drop down. We'll bring you right back up on so you can finish. We'll
Hey,
let finish
okay.
talking, okay?
I wasn't sure.
I wanted to just kind of piggyback off what you're saying and clarify because sometimes I can be kind of cryptic with the way I talk. It's unintentional, but yeah, I'm not talking about Welsing. What I'm hinting, and I'm not hinting at really non FBAs because I had an experience, guys. I've told some of y'all that's known me a while when I spent the summer in Ghana and Togo. That I met a whole bunch of riders over there that were riders like a motherfucker, and they all had the same story. They were like, brother, we want to get to the States, help us. So I went to Ghana with professors. It was mostly professors. Forget my truck, I'm going up a mountain. But professors and two physicians who were also professors. But if anybody could help them come to the States, it was us. I told them to apply to a historically Black college I was teaching at, and they were like, no, we've done that. We can't get the visas to come to the United States. So what I'm hinting at, ladies and gentlemen, is there's a unseen hand that meritoriously manumits um, non-FBAs against us, and it also meritoriously manumits FBAs against us. We're looking at an unseen hand, is what we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen. As a scholar, I know this for a fact. We're looking at meritorious manumission that is designed to all but destroy foundational Black Americans. And like I talked about earlier with John Brown, what happened to Gabriel Prosser? He started to turn on the system that was destroying him and raping his mama and raping his sisters. Damn right he was. That's called common sense according to Malcolm X. Um, and some FBAs who were meritorious. Ooh, I'm gonna get my prize turned on him. So that's all I'm trying to say is this is a piggyback off of what our dear brother, Dr. John Henry Clark, said, that we have no friends. So the first thing we have to do as FBAs is turn and help our own children. Let's forget the grown folk. You can't really help me. You know what I'm saying? I'm grown, right? I can't really help y'all. We grown, right? But what I see serving FBA children is a lot of people. fucking turn their head and scoff at our children, man. You know, I look a lot younger. I'm not that old, but I look a lot younger, especially when I shave. And the lady, the secretary at a fucking building that I'm a goddamn partial owner, a FBA lady looked at me like she wanted to goddamn vomit. I wanted to write her ass up because I own that part of that fucking building. I watched her. I sit up and watch people, ladies and
Was
gentlemen.
she security?
She was a secretary. We got a secretary
Oh,
upstairs,
okay.
and she's new. And I walked up there, man. I've been moving. I got on moving clothes and shit. And who gives a fuck? You know what I'm saying? But that lady looked at me like I was human refuse. And
Damn.
yeah, and it was the way she didn't look at the others like she looked at me. And it's just a little disheartening, that amongst our brothers.
Go ahead. You're breaking up. Go ahead, Welsing. Uh, Professor. Uh-oh. Welsing, can you hear me? Welsing, can you hear me? Okay. Go ahead, Mins.
Yeah, I have to be pretty quick because I'm just jumped in on conference. Do FBAs have real allies? Uh, that's always been a very kind of, I guess, tricky question for me because um, I never figured how to definitively determine whether someone is an ally or legitimately ally in real time. I've always read about allyship as like historical, like, reading about what someone's done and what they committed to their entire lives. And then when you see that full path, you can determine their status as an ally because we have people in today's time, without getting too much in details, that will say that they're allies, but then, and they'll be written in history as allies as well. And then you read about the stuff and you see they had ulterior motives and stuff, and that they really did sabotage the black community, misled the black community. People could smile in your face, shake your hand and everything, and shoot you in the back when they get into a meeting with politicians or any political figures or any position of power. Um, I've witnessed many people in the workplace, in school and so forth, who will sit at the table, eat lunch with you, smile in your face. You know what I'm saying? They hang out and everything, and then um, you know, after that's all it really is. Like, they say they love black people and everything, and then they'll sabotage black people. So I really don't, I really don't like to give people, unless we have a signed pact or a pact or like some type of contractual agreement. I don't, I really don't think we can. Me personally, taking the safety route, I can't I'll grant someone allyship and say, oh yeah, you're an ally, you know, and I've never seen how you would react if we was in war together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm calling you an ally, and then boom, tomorrow, this country going to war, or there's somebody banging on my door, and you're packing your bags to get the hell up out of here. Um, so that's my response as far as the ally question. But was Sheila Jackson Lee an ally? Hell no. And she's actually an example because if you read up on like Sheila Jackson Lee, like she's read to be someone who stood up for the Black American community, and she spent over like 60 years in politics. I think she was like born in like the 50s, I think, or yeah, the 50s. I think because she passed away in June. And the crazy thing is, I'm not sure if you're aware, but she passed away in June, I think it was, or July. But like the month before she passed away, she had made that comment um, about black jobs. And I felt like that was like backhand into the black community, like, what she had said. But anyway, yeah, that's my response. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Welsing, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, can you hear
Yes.
me? Oh, okay, great. No, no, I wanted to just finish briefly by saying, look, um, it that at least for me, I can only speak for myself that my allyship is as authentic as it can be. I don't expect everyone to quote unquote buy it, and there's no level playing field for me with a lot of people, but I live in my truth. I keep my head down and I live in my truth. I don't. I'm able to move in different spaces because I don't, you know, see one group different than the other. I'm an ally for everybody because I want to see this movement move forward for everyone. Um, uh, and that's what I wanted to say. Sheila Jackson Lee was, in my opinion, was not an ally. I mean, what comes to mind? I think, Professor, you asked about allyship and who was an ally. I don't know if anybody would agree with me. If they don't, I would be interested to hear, why. But I think somebody like Harry Belafonte was an ally during, a critical moment in the history of America for civil rights. Um, I think that he was, a good example of that allyship. Now, maybe somebody may not agree, but that's that's my thought. And you know what? Uh, there's a lot of people out there that are allies. To your point, Professor, may shock many, but I think of some they're very apprehensive to even show that allyship because of the pushback that they may or sometimes see other people get. That's my take on it. So I just wanted to finish off by saying that, and thank you for
Um,
allowing me to speak in the room. And
I,
again, as I said, this room is one of the few rooms that I will go into and always look forward to because, in my opinion, and who am I? But in my opinion, the education in this room, you can't. This is something that you don't even, like I said, you will not get this at an Ivy League. You won't.
well,
This is serious scholarship here, and
I,
I
I
thank
went.
all of you for that.
That means so much to me, Wells. And I went to an Ivy League. Didn't graduate there. Had a bunch of time. Met a bunch of girls. Drank a lot of liquor. But
Yeah,
the time at
I
but
my
just
time at
I
want
Ivy League.
appreciate it. I appreciate you and Wani and Nikki. I
to.
appreciate it.
Go,
This
go,
type
go
of
go
room
ahead,
because
Wani.
it's so needed.
I just want to
I
say,
come back to you. Go ahead, Wani.
I just wanted to say, I have heard Welsing talk a lot, and I've never heard her say anything out of line or off code. Do I think Harry Belafonte was an ally? Maybe in some political sense, but he did a lot of Caribbean things, like sniff under white women's asses constantly, put black women down. And I don't know what's going on with them with that, but it's cringy. That's one of the major differences that I've noticed in them. They will sniff up under white people, and they really look crazy because a lot of the white people that they're, you know, wanting to date, I mean, it sets up a lot of different dynamics. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't like white men, then I don't have a problem with white women. I'm just neutral with them. But they're coming here with another attitude. They're coming here liking white men, and so their whole page is a whole bunch of complaints about white women. And I just think they're crazy. I don't understand anything they're doing because both, who do you think is raising all the racists? White women are raising racists, and they consistently raise them. So both of them are doing these things, white men and white women. So how are you choosing these particular groups to hook up to as though that's something? Anyway, we got off track. I wanted to say real quick. Number one, my number one ally tip is when, okay, so when a foreigner comes over here, a foreigner that is classified as of African descent person, they run into a lot of problems. Don't let them fool you. They get shot in the face, get the back of their head blown off, get raped by brooms. They have a lot of heat. And the Afro Latinos do too. But most of the people killing them are Latino police officers. So it's a different dynamic. But they're getting killed really bad. Um, they're getting really a lot of police brutality against them within their own group. But what I would suggest for my number one be a good ally tip is if you are from Liberia, like I think Ralph Yarl was the little boy who got shot by the white man for no reason. Um, when his aunt wanted to advocate for him, because I think his mother was scared to come out at that moment, she couldn't because she was sniffing up a white man's ass. She was flexing her white husband on Facebook like he was a new puppy. Hey, everybody, look at what I've got. You see how silly they look? Well, she was doing that. So she caught wind of herself. She was like, oh, wait a minute. I can't talk about white people too bad when I'm trying to lick up under this white man that hard. So she was stunted in her advocacy for her nephew. She couldn't even speak up for him. And then they said, we didn't think that could happen to us. So they took the position that, why are we being shot? We're not Black Americans. Everything that poured out of their dumb mouths was stupid, basically. And so, what I would say is instead of using our resources and pretending that you're Black when you're not, you're African, you need to get your country involved. Have your country to say, hey, we sent our, our immigrants over there and they're being shot by the police. You see, start an organization, Liberians Against Police Brutality in America.
Preach.
Okay, it's more effective when multiple people are complaining about the police and not you hiding behind our skirt tails all the time, pretending that it was us who got shot, and then pivoting and calling us bullet bags when you have in fact gotten the bullet up your ass. Okay, both of them, and you tongue kiss the cops. Okay, that's what we get. They get a bullet in the face, claim to be us, and then when we get all riled up, oh my God, that white cop busted in his house. She wasn't at the wrong place. I'm not wasting my energy on those fools ever again. That's why I'm going to do your background. And if you don't like it, tough nuts. I don't give a damn. I'm specifically not giving my energy because you need to,
100%.
because they need to get hooked up with CARICOM and the African Union and all the other organizations that my Black ass is not allowed to be a part of. You get hooked up with them because you've got UN seats. You've got a voice that you know how to use for the Palestinians, but you don't know how to use it for us. Okay? You
Preach.
know how to use your UN seat to complain about the Gaza Strip, but you want to come begging us to help you with apartheid. You know what? You want to flex your muscles? Fine. Fine. I'm not against it. But you've never flexed them for us. And you're going to flex them for yourself. You're not using my people's energy anymore ever. Use your islands. Use your 54 countries. Use your UN seat. Stop coming over here trying to get on the Congressional Black Caucus and then pivot to kick us in the teeth because it's not going down. And your numbers are going to dwindle under the Trump administration.
Well, Wani brought up something very interesting earlier, like about maybe 30 minutes ago. I lost signal on the road, but it was the question was were the whites who helped foundational Black Americans religious, and we talked about the Quakers. So I just moved from Memphis. Memphis has a huge Quaker community. Matter of fact, the Slave Haven, the Underground Railroads in Memphis, one of the main um, areas of one of the main nodes to the Underground Railroad is in Memphis. Was right down the street from my house, actually. Um, what I'm trying to say is, I wanted to kind of clarify that the Quakers it didn't necessarily always mean well. I just want to say a lot of that Quakerism was a finesse. That's all I wanted to say about that. Um,
Well, what were they doing? Do you know?
they were using using the slavery abolishment to gain momentum for their own, just to get money off of it. The same thing that like with the women's movement with
Hmm.
Sojourner Truth. You remember how they used
Okay.
the white women used Sojourner Truth.
Got it. Got
Yeah,
it.
it was
Got
that
it.
type of shit. It wasn't always that, but I saw evidence of it that the Quakers were finessing.
Okay, I
Wow.
think Mikhail was trying to talk, but then he dropped down.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Mikhail. I didn't see you, bro.
This app is acting
Yeah,
weird,
it was acting
y'all.
weird with me. I couldn't hear y'all for a minute in the car.
Oh wow. Well, that's because you're driving. Okay. I see a lot of people wanting
It
to
won't
come
let
up.
me invite him to speak either.
Right. It's not even saying there's an error, which means there's too many people on the stage. It's not even saying that.
Weird. Oh, she's taking her medication. Okay. Who was up next? Let's see. Did Man's already
I
talk?
have no idea. Oh, the Black Truth. Go ahead, Black
Go ahead,
Truth.
Black Truth.
Salute, brother professor. Salute, sister Wani, sister Nikki. It's always a pleasure to listen into your spaces. I also did want to hear from brother Mikhail. He always has some great insights. But as far as the question of the room, do FBAs have real allies? And I would say we definitely don't have any friends and definitely no allies as far as a group or ethnic groups, racial groups, any kind of category like that. We may have individuals, like Sister Wellsing pointed out, Brother Kid Gravity, people like that who are individuals who are allies. But as far as having a collective, no, we don't have that. And most of the time that occurs when interests align. And so we definitely need to
Right.
vet people, see where they're coming from, what their interests are. I I was thinking of a story. I couldn't find the name of the person, but it was a female. I think she was of a foreign heritage, and she had an essay that she had to do. I think this was in high school. And when she did the essay, the question of the essay was pretty much, do FBAs deserve reparations? And her response was, hell no.
Yeah, that was a Nigerian lady that did that.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah.
Lovey.
Was that Lovey? Is that who that was?
That well, she did
I
something
don't
like
know her
that.
name.
Yeah, I
All I
remember.
know is
Yeah.
that person got a scholarship due to that essay. So they have little ways of vetting people, and we already heard. I'm sure you all are familiar with the APAC clip that's floating around about them targeting quote unquote potential early on. So there are a whole lot of people who are trying to use our power, our energy, but have ulterior motives. And so, was Sheila Jackson Lee an ally? Hell no. She was the main one behind the HR 40, which was a nothing burger, a waste of time, pretty much a study to create a panel where she was going to load it up with a whole bunch of her boule pals, and it was just going to be like a talking panel and another discussion of a discussion. Even if it passed, that's all it would have been. So she was in charge of upholding that almost her whole entire time in office. But anyway, that's all I wanted to add. Thanks for allowing me to speak.
And
Have a good
thank you
one,
for
guys.
speaking the truth and shaming the devil. Come on, Mikhail.
Thank you, dear brother, great professor. And see, we have the Queen, Nikki, and the Oracle, Wani. Wani, check your back channel, by the way. In fact, let's catch up
Yeah,
later.
I'll fill her in. I know what you're talking about.
Good. Thank you. Sister Welsing, the great Sister Welsing. And I see we have the great, powerful, beautiful, amazing Black ones of the Black ones. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Okay. Do FBAs have real allies? It's subjective, the question. It, of course, it needs to be unpacked. But I can speak to it from my experience. I have real allies. I think that it's important to know that everyone's cool if you know what you're doing. The problem isn't having, for me, for my humble opinion, isn't. Do we have real allies? I think the question is, do we have people in the right places who have the ability or the, I would say please forgive me, it's
No,
6:30
you're
over here.
preaching. You're preaching. Keep going.
If if they have the ability to flip organizations, polity, businesses, Fortune 500 businesses, and so on and so forth, into doing what we want them to do. I know if I go into a room of people who aren't usually allied with us, I know I can flip them. I know I have that ability. I know they're going to do exactly as I say. I know what their interests are. I know that they want to win. I know how to help them win. But I have terms, and those terms must be met prior to me lending any sort of aid. I have allies here on the continent, unquestionably. Many of them are more loyal to me than they are to their own people. I have allies in the Caribbean, and of course in the US, Russia, et cetera, et cetera. But as a bloc, we don't have the right groups of people who are organized sort of as a force multiplier to be self-interested enough and to be strong enough to say, I have 50 million foundational Black Americans riding with me, and this is what they need. What do you need? Let's make it happen. That's the problem. You understand? I think we, as an incubator, as a bubble on this app, we're creating a zeitgeist, a worldview that can lead or set the template for us, paradigm building, or in fact, planning to build our own paradigm. But currently, we have too many compromised, treasonous, greedy, effeminate,
Preach.
definitely euthanized, specifically males in power. And the women, of course, are women. They need vision, and generally vision comes from us. Once they have the vision, then they're going to handle the details, and they're going to be very anal about it. Nothing's going to fall through the cracks. It's just that we don't have men of vision and men who have essentially the power or the heart to look those who think they're in power in their eyes and say, you don't know what you're doing. You're headed down the wrong path. We've seen this before. You're going to lose. Okay, call me later. You see, so we just need to think along those lines as opposed to well, we don't need to, but from my perspective, uh, you know, I think it's at this point thinking about the future and thinking about who we can leverage. There are groups that are organized, there are nations who are organized that we can flip, but it just takes the right people inside that can do essentially what you, as a very powerful voice, I would say, in fact, the most powerful voice in the world, wants it to do. So I'll land with that, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. Love you all.
Man, Mikhail, let me unpack something that the gentleman just said. Like, this is such a teachable moment. My father, I stopped by my dad's house on the way to Atlanta, and my dad overheard Mikhail, and my dad said, "Fear is a force multiplier." But the teachable moment that came to me while Mikhail was talking is interest. That ought to be the fucking most important word. When I taught middle school, we used to have like a word for the month. Our word is interest. What's in our best interest? Strategic alliances. We need to figure out what do we need, and where the interest is aligned. There you have an alliance. We need to get this word. Well, let me speak for myself. I need to get this word of friend out my head. It's ally, right? I think I can't tell Wani who was next.
7.
Go ahead, Seven.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. I gotta follow Mikhail. I'll try. But we were talking about possible white allies. You know, we were saying, well, we know John Brown, definitely. But there was a name of a guy who I recently learned about, and I'll let you all decide if he was once I tell the story. Let me see if I can pronounce his name right because it's Polish. The name was Tadeusz Kościuszko, and in his will, when he died, he said that he wanted part of his fortune to go to help liberating slaves and educating freedmen. Now, his money never got used for those intended purposes because the executor of his will was Thomas Jefferson. And so, yeah, so if it's Thomas Jefferson, you can pretty much guess what happened. But was he an ally? I'll let y'all decide. I yield the mic.
How did this Polish guy get to, was he like that's odd, a Polish guy. Was
I
he
think he was
was he an
part. I
immigrant?
think he came to America. I think he helped in the revolution, and he
Okay.
left.
Oh, I
What
see.
was his last name?
Let me spell it
It's
for you.
Polish, so no one's going to understand how to spell it or
The
say it.
reason why that's interesting is I've done extensive research on Jefferson and the Federalist Society. That shit is interesting. Well, let me give it to you short way. They were involved with secret societies, my friend. And Jefferson, this is such a long thing. I'm trying to shorten it. The 13 colonies had nothing to do with America. They were slave colonies, and basically enslaved Africans and foundational Black Americans would, well, enslaved, let's just say, enslaved foundational Black Americans would run away, would break loose and run away from the plantation and keep running until they ran into the Native American tribes who looked just like us, which is a whole nother space. And they would, according to Dr. Howard Zinn, they would stage coups against the white power class, slave owning class. And the coups got so intense at some point that Benjamin Franklin and the slave owners, the 13 colonies, wrote back home. Well, long story short, is after the Benjamin Franklin and Jefferson called uh, the Queen and got the Georgia Corporation. They got the Georgia Corporation popping and the slave patrols popping. They came up with an idea. I think it was Benjamin Franklin's idea. It was called "Join or Die." Y'all can type that in Google and hit images. It's a snake, which is very interesting. The 13 colonies was a snake. What Benjamin Franklin was telling the other white slave owners is either we're going to join together and form a union or we're going to die. These black people and these Native Americans are going to fucking kill us. So basically, long story short, they the heads of these 13 colonies, these 13 slave colonies, who you call founding fathers, locked themselves in a room. They all were members of a secret society. I'm gonna leave that alone. And they went to European secret occultists who had doctrines of philosophy. These philosophers were comprised of Dobbs, Locke. Locke was a main one. John Locke, yes, sir. And Montesquieu, a Frenchman. I forget the third one. His name escapes my head. The fourth one, his name escapes my head. But basically, the main person quoted in the Constitution was John Locke. Spelled with an E if y'all want to look him up. Locke. And John Locke was a fucking slave. He was an occultist, number one. But number two, he made his bread off of advising the slave owners of South and North Carolina on how to keep their fucking slaves in order. John Locke was a real Willie Lynch. And John Locke, I read his doctrine. John Locke said one of the best ways to keep slaves in order is to make sure that they don't think that they're enslaved. You can do this by telling them words like you have liberty and justice. So that shit made it to the Constitution. It was all cap. But he made me think of that when he talked about Thomas Jefferson, because Thomas Jefferson plagiarized Locke when he put liberty and justice and all that in the Constitution. It's my opinion that that was a finesse, but I'll leave that alone. Um, James, what's on your mind?
Peace to the room. Peace to you, Brother Alon, Miss Wani, Goddess Nikki. I find myself coming to these rooms. I have to wake up early in the morning to get to work, but I find myself coming to these rooms, honestly, proving to you guys that I'm a real ally. The only allies that we do have is us, honestly. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a millennial, born in 1984 from Georgia, and I find myself in these rooms, and I want to speak amongst brothers and sisters like you guys, especially. I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking in the room right now. Majority of these brothers and sisters I see in here right now are all the allies that we need, to be quite honest. And I say that because when I come in here, I'm not too politically astute myself, but when I listen to you guys, I find myself wanting to do this even more on a bigger scale, not to just to impress anyone, but just to be someone that can be a factor in my community, to help lead my community to tangibles, period. Because to be honest with you, Tariq Nasheed is the only brother that led me to you guys. Not only just Tariq Nasheed, Jason Black, Professor Black Truth, our big three, to be honest. Because we haven't had these types of conversations. I haven't, when I listen to you and Professor Alon and Mikhail, when I listen to you guys, I had 8 uncles that raised me and 2 aunties that nurtured me. When I listen to y'all, that's exactly what I'm getting. The ingrained Malcolm X in me, even though we're a Christian family. They made sure that I understood who Malcolm X was. So when I come in here and listen to you guys, I want to come in here to let you guys know that I'm an ally off rip, because I don't want you guys to think that I'm just some Democratic shield or some troll in here wasting your time. Because the game that y'all are giving us, you should be paid millions for what you're telling us. Because your lives are on the line. And what Tariq said, we don't protect people like you all, like we should. So I'm just coming in here to just give grace to you guys, give honor, give my glory to you guys because y'all to help us build a future for our board in our land.
That's wonderful. I like when our young people are involved, and the truth of the matter is, brother, um, this has been a long succession of events to bring me to you guys. It happened actually in 2015. I was teaching history in Fraser, and this is one of the poorest neighborhoods in the world. I mean, in the country, in Memphis, Tennessee. 100% foundational Black American. I had one Hispanic student at the whole school. Um, and I was teaching my ass off. And one of the little girls, honor student, she's a college graduate now, proud wife and mother. She said they start acting a fool, and I said, "Why y'all doing this to me?" She said, "We love you, Dr. A, but it's because it's class. I don't see myself in this book." I said, I actually took her up on it. I read the book. I was like, she's right. The book is brainwashed. It has nothing to do with the truth. So what you're resonating with, brother, is the truth. The truth is interesting. If they taught real history, it would be like the number one fucking class in the country. And that is why they're making Black history illegal. But we're going to get to it. No taxation. Tell us what you think.
Lord have mercy, if that wasn't the kindest thing that I've heard today, and I needed to hear that piece of kindness that the young man just expressed himself. I really did. I needed that today because I had heard about that police officer that they said he suicided himself after he had sex trafficked Black women and locked their sons up. That's a whole nother story.
So
So
it
anyway,
wasn't natural causes. Okay, all right.
yeah, they said he suicided, but I'm a, I'm a firm believer we need somebody on the inside, maybe one of them that he locked up to tell us whether he's living or dead. We don't want to know how he died, just is he dead? See,
Facts.
that's just me. How y'all doing? This is a wonderful room. This is always such a wonderful space. I don't want to take it down too low, but I got a Sheila Jackson Lee story that I got to tell.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, because y'all in my neck of the woods now, y'all talking about Sheila Jackson Lee was a congresswoman, so I know a little bit something about her. And I ain't going to speak too ill of the dead, but I got to tell the truth. Let me just get this out the way. Do we have real allies? Time will tell, won't it? And that's the only way we find out, is in time. I'm going to take it back to where I started with Sheila Jackson Lee and how I came to know who she was, because I really don't fool with Congress people and I don't fool with Democrats at all. I have to do a lot of reading in the morning time. So when I get up, I do what I have to do, and then I read for about 3 or 4 hours straight. And I had read an article that says something about babies down in Houston being born with their intestines on the outside and not the inside. And I said, oh my God. I didn't read it any further because I said I can't take that in my spirit. And about 6 months later, somebody called me and said, please meet with some people, they need help. I said, where they at? And they said, Houston. I said, okay. Lo and behold, it was some people down there that confirmed what I had read, and was Black folks, Fifth Ward District, Sheila Jackson Lee's district. And it was a mess down there. All kind of stuff was going on. So here's what the root of the problem was. Like all railroad tracks and stuff was running through the neighborhood down there in Sheila Jackson Lee's district. And that wood that they use to lay those rails has to be treated every year with a chemical called creosote. And it causes cancer. And it's a big cancer cluster down there. It's a big still, I don't think it's cleaned up yet. But anyway, so that had been going on for a number of years. Sheila Jackson Lee's uh, little website, about her little congressional website. If you went on it when she was living, she had probably about 250, 350 interests that she was concerned about. Not a near single one of them said anything about us. Not one. She even picked up peoples down to the Alaskan Indians and stuff. Now, what's she doing over there? And she's from Houston. See? So she was never any, she was an enemy to the people. That's what she was. And to prove it, here's what happened. The only good thing about this current administration, I say, was that we got a director. Let me take a sip of water. His name is Michael Reagan. He's about your age, Professor. Black. Smart, smart, smart. Young, black, smart, married, children, young, just everything that the ancestors dreamed, okay? Running the entire Environmental Protection Agency since the Biden administration. And he fought to get that infrastructure money at the EPA. You hush, so that he could issue it out. And do you know what Sheila Jackson Lee did? He went down there, local, everybody came out for him. He said, we're going to get it cleaned up. And he did issue out the money because, they don't clean it up. It's for the people. The city has to do it, right? That's a whole nother story. But he did what he was supposed to do. Not one time did Sheila Jackson Lee ever contact Michael Reagan. Not once in the 4 years he was in office. I asked, do you know how I know? Because when they asked me for help, I had to get to know people in the EPA. And so now I know I have a key in the environmental justice part of the EPA because of that, because I was asked to help. So I had to make friends, how you have to do. And I asked, and I was told no. She has never contacted them about that cancer cluster, not one time. So Sheila Jackson Lee was an enemy of the people because she was an enemy to her own constituents, and her constituents were black. So that's what I know about her, and I will tell that story until the day I die.
That's very interesting. No taxation. And it's always a blessing to have you on. And I'm gonna let you land, but I just want to interject right quick.
No, no, I'm gonna land
Go
right
ahead. Oh,
there.
okay. Well, you said she was an enemy to the people, but somehow the people were manipulated and following her around. I want to bring something to your attention. Like I said earlier, when I was at Georgetown University, I briefly was mentored by Marion Barry, and I believe, I try to keep the school that made me a professor. I could kind of keep them. This is a small historical black college. It's a hidden jewel. I keep it
My father mentored Marion Barry in Washington, D.C.
interesting. Well, my dad said, "What's your father's name?" Dad's from DC.
Tell him I said Samuel Cornelius. His best friend was Arthur Fletcher, black Republican.
Wow. Well, yeah. A liberal. My dad said liberal Republican. I'm not familiar with him, but yeah. Marion Barry was briefly my mentor in DC when I was at Georgetown University, and years later, I would get my first professorship in Memphis, Tennessee, and I was walking through them halls at this school. That's a real hard job to get. And I saw a big ass picture of Marion Barry. He was an undergrad there, but I kind of felt like his spirit led me to this school. That sounds crazy, but I felt like he had something to do with me being there. But I brought up Marion Barry not to talk about myself, but to talk about Marion. I want to bring up an interesting dynamic that no taxation made me think about. She made me think about how people like Sheila Jackson Lee are portrayed in the media as people who help us, what I'm saying, knights in shining armor who help us, but they're actually destroying us. And on the flip side, people like Marion Barry who fought tooth and nail for the people of Washington D.C. What'd you say, Dad? Exactly, are vilified and set up. I mean, it's a goddamn shame what they did to Marion. Do y'all know what Marion did for Washington D.C.? Marion was out there in them streets when I met. Marion, he was out there in them streets. You know what I'm saying? Just like a regular dude. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it's what I'm. My dad's talking. What do you say, Dad? He said Marion Barry and Petey Green.
He was
Was-
actually doing something.
All
That's
of
why
them.
he was
That's right.
targeted.
Yep, that's right.
Yep.
And the woman that set him up, she used to be a prostitute.
Hello.
And he took her off the street and dusted her off and gave her a job. She had a son. She was a single parent.
Mm-mm.
And she was doing, she worked in his administration and not no problem or nothing like that. He was married. She just was working. And the police pulled her to the side because they couldn't really catch him. They had to set him up. And she did it. They said just like that thing I was talking about earlier today. That police officer did the same thing with the people that he manipulated. If you don't do this, I'm gonna take away your child. That's why she set him up. That's why he
Well,
said
it's
when
for
he said, and I don't want to, I don't, I try not to do
That's
too
his
much.
famous
The
quote.
bitch set me up. You heard him say that.
Yeah.
That's the truth. She did.
Yeah, he was real people, man. Just a regular guy, and we do have a history of FBA leaders who were just fucking riders. Let me give you one. Let me give you one a little closer to my hometown. Maynard Jackson. Maynard Jackson. Atlanta is Atlanta because of Maynard Jackson. Maynard Jackson turned around and made black millionaires off of those goddamn contracts. We got black mayors all across the country who will not give contracts out to black people. They give them to every other group but us. But Maynard
Preach.
said, "Fuck." Maynard said, "Fuck that! I'm not. I'm not giving any other contracts but the Foundation of Black Americans," and created a bunch of rich black people. I was reading that Maynard Jackson had a mysterious heart attack at Dulles Airport. Now, why is that interesting? Y'all know who Alan Dulles was? A CIA, fucking assassin. Did they kill Marion? Did they kill Maynard Jackson for helping the black people? I'm gonna leave that alone. The black. What's on your mind? I gotta go to
What's
this.
going on, Professor? What's
Not
going
much,
on,
man.
Wally?
Dad, you need a
Hey,
X account. You need to be on this.
Uh, I want to make a comment to what Seven said. Cause I've been reading this book called Friends of Liberty, and it's about Thaddeus and Thomas Jefferson and this dude named Agrippa Hall, which I assume that it might be Prince Hall, cause a lot of things correlate between both of their lives. Excuse me, but one interesting thing, Thomas Jefferson was the overseer of rewriting and translating Thaddeus' will, and the trick thing that he did is instead of he reworded it where how he wanted it at first, he wanted to just free slaves with a certain amount of money up that he was leaving. Instead of that, Thomas Jefferson made it to where he wanted to he wanted to buy and free Thomas Jefferson slaves that he had. So he just used the money to make a like a facility on a Monticello plantation to basically like re-educate slaves and give them some type of education before he so-called freed them. That's how Sally him and his brother learned how to become a chef. So it's when it come down to like the question, it seems like the allies that we do end up having, we always have subverters or people who have ill will towards us always manage to also become friends and allies with the people that we try to align ourselves with and end up subverting them at the end. But I land right there.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Thomas Jefferson was. You're looking at a. I gotta be careful what I say on the internet. You know, this is not private. But what I will say is a large number of the founding fathers were members of secret society. The one of them that was black, um, who was Alexander Hamilton. He's biracial. Um, you have to think of how he died, right? There's a really good movie y'all need to watch called The Skulls, and I'm gonna be careful. I don't want to end up disappearing.
I saw that.
You remember our rules supersede everybody else's rules? Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Uh, Alexander Hamilton died in a duel, and he tried to play the whole FBA nice guy thing. Like, I'm not gonna kill you. No, we're not gonna fight. We're gonna have a drink, and the Harrenberg blew his head off. But yeah, you're looking at occult behavior. I might have a real watered down space on that because I don't want to say too much on that. But anyway,
Uh, can
Oh,
I say
one more
something real quick?
thing.
Or you're
One
done?
more thing. He became a Batendian too for one of the five civilized
Careful.
tribes before he died.
You too. Um,
So that kind of shows the correlation between how because you know around that time the North they didn't like Indians but they liked the black people in the South they liked the Indians but they didn't like black people. So it kind of shows you how that little small detail kind of funny between the North and the South.
oh yeah, and then this is kind of off topic, but I could prove to y'all that America, should I call it America, was egalitarian. Big word, egalitarian. Hold on, it says connection was lost, reconnection. What does that mean? Oh, because I got 4 bars. I don't. Can y'all
On
hear me?
me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I got
You
four
got a
bars.
message?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
good. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
yeah, yeah. Well, I could prove to y'all that the country, the place that became America, was egalitarian as fuck. Now, did I say it was nice? No, it was real ugly. Um, the very filthy place, like very hard and brutal. But in the 1600s, uh, interracial marriages were encouraged because the white men, everybody, people were farmers. It was everybody was poor. That's what I was trying to say earlier in the spaces. Everybody in America started out poor, and white men would urge. And I'm fucked around and got lost. Jesus, but white men would urge their daughters to marry um black
A big, strong buck.
big strong buck. Yes, yeah. So where am I going with this? Where I'm going with this is um there were a group of people who came over here who put rules in order to create racial hierarchies. These were secret society members. Yep, I'm gonna leave that alone. Go ahead.
That's,
Go ahead,
I
one.
was just going to say real quick, that's why that triracial community in the Appalachian Mountains is a lot of Norwegian women and other Northern European women, not English women, but other European women. They grabbed themselves a black man and went up there because they wanted someone strong. And that actually happened in my family on one of my family lines when I was reading a court case about them. An Irish woman went and purchased a man and told everybody this, I need someone to work on the farm, a slave, and had all these children with him. I don't think he got a lot of work done. He did not get a lot of work done on that farm.
There's a book that's disappearing all over the country called "The Shaping of Black America." If y'all can find it, buy it. And if somebody finds it, sell it back to me. But "Shaping of Black America," written by Lerone Bennett. Lerone Bennett of Morehouse College fucking proved it. And he said, but like what Wani said, a big strong buck. They wanted their daughters to marry a big strong black man because their children would be more useful on the farm. But you're looking at a conspiracy. You're looking at a group of people that came over from Europe. Um, and it gets deep as fuck. I'm not going that deep, guys, and I'm not gonna do that. But a racial hierarchy was created in America. This shit deep as hell.
I'm sorry. What's that book called again?
The Shaping of Black America.
It's
Okay.
almost
Larone
not
go in on
available
that one.
anywhere. It's out of stock. It's available for rent um in someone's library. It's almost non-existent. So you got to get it in, and it's cost $159.
Hello, and
Damn.
that's a good price. That shit. Send me that link. I'll buy it for that price. But
There ain't none. Okay, all right.
but
There aren't any left. I didn't mean to speak that way.
oh, you're good. At the
Oh.
Historical Black College I taught at, we had 2 copies, and they were all in special collection upstairs on their lock and key. And the librarian who I became really good friends with was like, she was like, Professor A, uh, one of the because I was looking through them, taking pictures of it and shit to cite it in my book. I heavily cited in my book. And she was like, I was like, where'd the other copy go? I went up there. I mean, this place, the upstairs is locked. You have to unlock the upstairs, then you go in special collections, and you have to unlock special collections, and then you have to go in special collections and unlock the cabinets. They have all the books. I said, how the fuck did that get stolen? And she was like, it was a white lady who was doing research on Memphis who would show up. And she sweet talked the library aide to go up there to do some research. And she came out with a bag. You know what I'm saying? So that book is strategically disappearing. Want to know why? Because the book proves so many different things. There's a chapter in it called The Black and the Red that talk about Native Americans. Ladies and gentlemen, we the Native Americans, but I'm gonna leave that shit alone. That's off topic. Black Truth, what's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just wanted to bring up, first of all, Marion Barry.
I don't hear
Yeah,
anything.
you can't hear me?
Yeah, drop down, Black Truth. I'll bring you right back up. Wani can't hear
Oh,
you.
okay. Sorry about that.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, hold
You
on.
can hear him?
Yeah, I can hear
You
him.
could. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they messing with this space, but I believe it. I understand why, because it's very successful. I mean, it's a very we're this is very constructive, and somebody on this app don't like black people to be constructive. But it's an
Elon.
age of it's an age of Aquarius. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry, whoever's listening, you're in that we're aligned with Aquarius. There's nothing. It's truth. That's what it is.
That's right.
Deal
That's
with it. Come on, Black.
Hey, just wanted to say, yeah, Marion Barry, his reputation is platinum plated. I have people in my family, people close to me. Not a single person has a bad word to say about Marion Barry. I mean, he gave jobs out to our people. He was really looking out. He fixed a lot of things in DC, and that's why they set him up. But anyway, with Sheila Jackson Lee, that story from Sister No Taxation Without Reparations, that's a very sickening story. And I want to remind everyone, the last time Sheila Jackson Lee was up for her election, they were trying to oust her. Does anyone remember that?
Yeah, and I remember she ran for mayor, and they were like, "Nope."
She had that
Yep.
rape in her office that she brushed up underneath the rug too. That's why they trying to get her out of there.
So she really just wasn't
Uh-huh.
respected.
Well, the she was kind of aging out and everything. There were multiple things behind it, but you know, she had the people fooled enough, even with that story that Sister No Taxation shared. She had the people fooled enough. That story apparently didn't get out, or the people were just so fooled, you know, in that particular city, that they still voted for her despite her not receiving the amount of funds that her opponent was receiving. So the sad thing is, either way, we were gonna lose. Either it was going to be her, or it was going to be the other sellout who had money behind her. You see what I'm saying? So they control these things, and they make sure, okay, what do you want, bad or worse? And just wanted to land it there. We do have to start producing our own, just like Brother Great Marcel Dixon talks about. And with that, I'll land.
Yep.
And that's fine. That's fine. That's what I'm trying to tell my people is that's great. Like this is great news that all we've ever needed was each other. A lot of this, fuck it. As a historian, I'm gonna say most of this, if not all of this ideology of helping people before us, come from that chattel slavery. Well, we were psychologically damaged. Let me tell y'all. Can I get deep for a minute, ladies and gentlemen? Do I have permission to go way deep? All
Do
right,
thing.
all right, all right. Let's do it. Psychologically damaged. Like I told our sister Wani, and my sister Wani has confirmed a lot of what psychology comes from Germany. I mean, the study. Well, the modern psychology comes from Jung. Hold on, Jung. Yeah, Freud was a student of Jung. I might be saying it backwards. Carl Gustav Jung. Well, why am I bringing this up? What we know about the psychology comes from Carl Gustav Jung, who I follow, uh, Freud, who was a goddamn pedophile weirdo, but he had some good points. It came from Germany. So let's boil it down. What is not talked about is Einstein, Gustav Jung, Albert Einstein, Gustav Jung, fucking Freud. They learned what they learned from the Egyptians and the Eastern Indians through those Vedas. That shit's stolen. And what the bomb I'm about to drop is psychology comes from the Egyptian or Kemetic word psyche. You know what psyche means? Psyche means fucking spirit. Your soul is in your head. We've been spiritually damaged, my friend. That's why we don't coalesce.
Let me ask a quick question.
Go ahead.
Why do we need allies
We don't. All I need is
if
y'all. That's it.
if we're the only people that have ever advocated? We're the only ones who advocated this whole time. We have the most powerful advocates, abolitionists, tons of them. A long list. Even people you don't even know that just were getting on those trains and hoping that they were going to be told not to get on the train. Did you ever hear about that? It's kind of like a quiet thing that they were doing. Yes, there were some powerful cases that went to the Supreme Court, but a lot of black people were like, I'm just going to get on the train, even though I don't feel like getting on a train, just to see if it was really uh, integrated, because they were still doing segregated stuff, telling people to go here and there when they were black. And so they would get on the train and then get roughed up and told they couldn't sit where they wanted to sit, couldn't have the seat that they bought, and all this other stuff. And even one lady, this was a more, well, whatever. The bottom line is that we are the only advocates. I mean, when you look at it, the people in South America, Latin Americans, Latinos, they haven't even advocated for themselves against the white Latinos. They literally come up here and say, well, you should accept us because we get treated bad by the white Latino. Well, why don't you do something about it? How come you just sit there and try to marry them and try to, what's the term? Uh, improve the race?
Mejorar la raza.
Right. Why are you doing that? You can't do that and advocate. You see the problem? You can't want to be white and go against white people. This is why they colossally fail. You can't do it. When you don't want to be white and you like what you are and you have a high self esteem in terms of our culture, in terms of us setting a standard for ourselves. We set a beauty standard and made them follow it. Who in the hell else did that on the planet? Nobody. Nobody. Nobody said, no, we like big butts, and I cannot lie, and the lips, and the skin, and all of it. We're the ones that said it and said, oh, yeah, you like thin lips and flat asses? Go for it, babe. We don't. We don't like those things. And there's nothing you can do about it. We stood on that. And what did they do? They got some BBLs and some lip implants and tried to get a spray tan and looked crazy. They looked like leather. Okay? They look like leather. But that's fine. Leather is nice. Anyway, we are the only people that are powerful. The rest of these people, they're still trying to be white. What is this, 1700s? You're not white,
It's
and you're never going to be white.
it's
What are you doing?
it's psychological or psyche, spirit damage. These motherfuckers learned it. They learned it from the Kemites. They learned it from the Indians, the Vedas. They learned how to attack a spirit and make people hate themselves. We're looking at evil that we don't comprehend. Dr. Wade Nobles talks about this a little bit. Talks about the psyche. Yeah, because why would you want to be something that you're not? Why would you want to be out of all groups? And no disrespect, Professor A loves everybody, but why would you want to be that? Why would you want to be that? You're looking at spiritual damage. And to Wani's point, we can't follow anybody around who's damaged. That's like having a mental patient in your fucking group. You can't trust them. They're going to poison your Kool-Aid.
Now, I may have missed something because I haven't been in all the places at all the times. I don't recall anyone putting up a lot of resistance. It's just copying off of us. Like I said in the other
Facts.
space, they created all of these, uh, what was it, Pacific Island Panthers, the Black Panthers, which were Israelis, Israeli Black Panthers. I don't know why they call themselves black, but because they're white now, remember? Um, all of these groups, the Brown Panthers, all of these groups made a Black Panthers copycat organization. I'm not sure what they ever did with those other than copy. It was just copying. They didn't advocate for themselves. We still had to be called for apartheid, all of that talking about this and that, and they're still calling on us and wanting our energy to focus on them. You know, we don't actually have to do things, they just want our attention. Just like a commercial. Just look at this food. Go over there to Wendy's now. I played you the commercial. You want Wendy's now. Everybody is vying for attention anyway.
But Wani,
And they're
there,
vying for our attention.
Wani, I hate
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt you, sister, but there it is, right there. Psycho, the attack on the soul. That's it. Psychological soul, psycho, spirit, attack on your spirit. You attack the spirit through the eyes, in the eyes of the window to the what? Got your ass. Continue, Wani.
No, that's it. Basically, the reason that we don't need the allies is because we're the only ones fighting. And we have to fight for them. Remember? They're the ones always talking about, Ukraine is dropping bombs on our heads. They're the ones talking to us. We don't ask them for anything. And they do have resources, as we saw South Africa advocated for Arabs, right? The same ones that come over to South Africa and put them in their place on the bottom and call themselves, I'm sure they have a term. I don't know if they're coloreds, but if they mixed in with someone, they would be Cape coloreds. And the other Africans would not be invited to the party. So they're advocating their butts off, using up all of their political power for them. And they would never do that for us. They asked us for help, though, and got it. We were walking around in Nelson Mandela t shirts. We were marching in the street. We forced the Congressional Black Caucus to file petitions. We put pressure on the United States to sanction. We put pressure on the public and made them boycott them into oblivion. That was us. We created Nelson Mandela, or he would just be some guy in jail that you never heard of. We toppled apartheid. I'm not going to listen to anything these people are talking about. They have been begging for help and getting the help. Not just begging, but actually getting help. They've got a lot of our energy. And yes, we have built up political clout. We have built up a stellar reputation, which the African immigrant is trying to tear the shreds out of overseas. The minute they see somebody brown now, they think you're trying to crawl up on a raft and beg for resources. So, yeah, they're trying to destroy what we did naturally. We can't help it if we went over there and we were war heroes. We can't help it if we have legendary athletes that told Hitler to kick rocks. We can't help it if we have Michael Jackson and Louis Armstrong and all those stars going over there showing up and showing out. We can't help it if we have a bunch of prima ballerinas over in Europe. We can't help it if we just do that. We can't help that. We can't help it if we just shine wherever we go. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. We're the advocates. They are asking us. They have 1.3 billion people, and every one of them is worrying about what we're doing and doing nothing for themselves. They've never done anything for themselves, and they never will. I have zero thoughts in my mind that they would ever do anything, just like I don't expect white people to stop being racist. I don't expect Africa to ever come up out of the dirt.
Well, that goes back to the title, Wani. I hear what you're saying, but like let them do them. Like, we need to focus on us. Like, but I agree with everything you're saying, but that's been the problem. That's been the pitfall, is let's help them. No, no, no. Let me show you the way. Let me show you the way. And I had an experience at this college. We paved the way for some of these members of the diaspora, whether from Africa or the Caribbean, to come over, right, and study. And they turn around and take all the fucking positions for admission to medical school and dental school from us, and then turn around when they become medical doctors and dentists and laugh at us and ball out on us. So that shit is unacceptable. That's where I get involved. Is you don't fucking bite the hand that feeds you. How dare you? Men's, what's on your mind, man?
Yeah, finally got off the call, but I was listening and I heard a lot of stuff, man. A lot of great stuff, man. As usual, I always commend you when I come in your rooms, you and Bonnie. I've been hosting some great rooms for like what, a few months now. So the first thing was, I guess I'll start from the last thing I heard. Yeah, so FBAs have real. Do FBAs have real allies? Well, something you just said, which caught my attention, was about South Africa and how they jumped to support. Now, I read about this when it happened, and I'm sure you're talking about when South Africa petitioned Israel for what they were doing with Gaza, and they all signed a petition, and they also they had asked. Well, they didn't ask. They demanded that the Israel come to court to show up. They didn't even show up. They didn't show up to answer to to that petition for what they were doing for war crimes and so forth. So like Wani did say, or one of you said, is Africa, South Africa in that particular example showed that they can jump to do something or try something or attempt something that they could bring more attention to a particular issue. But the question you have to ask yourself is, if anybody in these other countries, and this is why I said that I don't call nobody an ally as a living person. Like I wouldn't go to somebody like, oh yeah, this is my ally. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no way for me to determine, what I'm saying, how they are an ally and in what way, and without a conclusion of everything they've done. Like someone can help you and then stab you in the back. And this is what we've seen in our entire, generation to generation. We've had many people that pose to be allies and literally stab these people in the back. So with that being said, is like what that shows me is that Africa and Caribbean and anybody else, no matter what country you're from, white, black, racially white, black, and whatever the hell else y'all want to use to differentiate. Me personally, if you're not of my people, then I'm just, I can never embrace you simply because you have your own group of people, and for me to think that you're going to prioritize my people over your people, or prioritize my issues over your issues, or anything else when it comes down to it, shows that you can never truly, for me, you can never truly be for me without selling out your own people. And I don't think that these people are even capable of doing such a thing, because why would they stick up for you when they left their people that they could have stuck up for? Does that make any sense? I'm gonna go help you. I'm gonna be an ally to you.
No, no, I hear what you're saying. I've been saying that for years. Like, how, if you fight for me harder than you fight for your people, I don't trust you, because you're really telling me you done turn your back on your own family to help me. Fuck you, get the fuck away from me, man. I don't want nobody around me to turn their back on their family. How can I trust you? There's no level of trust there.
Yeah, man. So I'm not going to dig, because I could dig deep on this thing all night for hours and talk about all of this, all the reasons I have. But I want to go to the other topic that y'all brought up earlier with the guy from Liberia, the boy from Liberia. He was killed by somebody. He was like, the white dude was like in his 80s. He didn't kill him. The boy mistakenly knocked on his door to pick up his siblings, and the man opened the door and shot him in the head. And then while he was laying on the ground, he shot him in the arm. Uh, yeah, so that's the dude that y'all talk about from Liberia. Now, I question. I seen the boy when I looked at his picture before, and I didn't know he was Liberian until y'all said it tonight. But I know about that case. I didn't know he was Liberian until y'all said it tonight. But the question you have to ask yourself, because I seen the boy's picture, And I thought he was Black American, so I was irate when I first heard about the news. You know, but he might be one of those American Liberians. You know, Ronnie knows a lot about that. And in the second event y'all were talking about, with the guy that killed himself, he never made it to the court. He was supposed to come to court. He didn't show up to court. They went. They heard a few days later or a day later, something like that. The people reported a gunshot. He killed himself. So that dude who was a former police officer. He was an investigator, a detective. He was raping women, and no, and here's the twist: he wasn't threatening. There was a case where he wasn't just threatening the women; they would put their kids in jail. He actually put the women's kids in jail and continued to rape the woman. He put her kids in jail, and continued to basically, yeah, for years. This has been going on for decades. So my question is, with speaking of allies and stuff, like where are all of these where are all of these, like, this is like a rate or percentage, where are all of these allies? Where are all of these allies when you have somebody like him, right? Who by the way, this guy also, he was actually very powerful in to some degree. He spoke to many, like, politicians I was reading, and like he had a lot of support. So, but this dude killed himself off himself. He was allowed to do that. Live in almost like, I would figure, an entire life. Lived to be in his 70s. Shot himself in the head. Never got to answer for any of the crimes he did. Let alone they was well aware of these crimes years prior, decades prior, and he was allowed to do it for decades. So I asked myself, that's why I said allies. Like, where are the allies? Because an ally would be somebody I see on the news that went and took out Trayvon Martin. Excuse me, not Trayvon Martin, but the dude that killed Trayvon Martin.
Zimmerman.
Yeah, George Zimmerman. Ally would be somebody that I see on the news that took out this white dude before he killed himself. An ally would be somebody that brought him to justice, to whatever degree, street justice or court justice. That's what an ally is to me. Like, I don't I don't know how we can say, we have any allies when there has been nothing that we can say that somebody has actually did that has, I would say that we can say is an accolade that will last, lifetimes and lifetimes. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I said what I said earlier. I know I was brief earlier, but that's all I have, man.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's very true. The real message here is we need to be each other's ally, because in all honesty, um, everything y'all said is true, but all that, these outsiders, what I'm saying, no disrespect, because like I said, I met some Africans in the jungle, the tree people in West Africa, who they really fuck with us. They ride with us like a motherfucker. But that's not their job. You know what I'm saying? It's not their job to mess with us. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying. I noticed my little winch is messed up on my Jeep. Hold on one second. But
Your
I,
winch.
I
yeah, I got a
wanted
little a
to.
winch.
We don't want to hear your personal problems.
Uh,
Oh my God. Oh my God. I knew she was gonna do that.
oh, y'all funny. No, that's not not a bed winch. I'll show you. Hold on.
I
I,
wanted to let some new people up on stage because there are other people who are waiting. So if someone is up here and they're done and they're not going to speak anymore, I'd ask like if a couple of you can step down so we can let some people up.
it's been
I'll step down.
Thank you.
so I'm putting my winch in the jumbotron. That's the
How
winch.
did the room change to this topic?
Yeah. I just noticed I got out I'm at the gas station. I said, "Oh fuck, my winch is fucked up." It could have been a lot more fucked up, so I'm not gonna
Now, don't
complain.
talk about that woman like that.
It could have been so much more fucked up, so I'm not gonna complain. It could have got lodged on some on the highway and flipped me over, so I'm not gonna complain a little bit. But oh, but yeah, the point is we're responsible for each other, and the real problem um with our lineage and historically is other foundational Black Americans making deals, getting their 30 pieces of silver, to turn on us, you know. And I think if we can somehow non-violently, because this is a non-violent channel, I don't believe in violence. If we could somehow non-violently eliminate that fucking traitor factor, I think we'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? If we could somehow screen the people in our inner circles, number one. And number two, screen the people, FBAs in our inner circle. And you know, eliminate the traitor factor. How do you do that? You do it by shaming. You know what I'm saying? We need to bring shame back. You know what I'm saying?
Shaming
I
and
have a book.
shunning.
But here go the fucked up part about us. Like, let's be real. Let's tell the truth, shame the devil. We know how to shun somebody who ain't cool. You know what I'm saying? We know how to do that. We know how to shun. We know how to shun another FBA that ain't cool. You know what I'm saying? You go to a club, you see a dude or a girl that's not cool. You know how to not know her. You know what I'm saying? So we need to hone those tactics on these so-called people that jump in our power circles and manipulate. Should I say a name? I don't want to be petty, do I? I'm gonna be petty. I went to an expo years ago that was talking about black foundation. They didn't use the word foundation black American, but it was African American power, and particularly with women. I went with my wife, and guess who brought his ass up there to talk and be seen? Jesse Jackson. Why was he there? He was there to be seen.
I thought he
I
was
read.
crippled. I thought he was disabled.
This is in 2018. Um, and yeah, he was kind of a little bit, but it was something looked like it was wrong. But my point is, we need to get away from this showmanship ism. Dr. John Henry Clark, when he was living, said the black community could use some. I forget the word he used, but the gist of the word was like some just normal plain Jane. I think he may have said plain Jane. We need scholars. We need metallurgists. We need geeks. Time out for all this like swagalicious showmanship bullshit. I'm done with it. I want some geeks. I want some chemists. I want some metallurgists. I want some scientists. You know what I'm saying? It's time for that. It's time for some historians,
You know what?
That's what we need. Go ahead.
During Black History Month, everybody is proud of all of our inventors. So why can't we bring that into real life?
Exactly. Why can't we bring that into power circles? Why can't we exalt our inventors, our engineers, our chemists, and put them in office? We need somebody who's just fuck it. I'm teetering on the word. I'm teetering on saying the word lame. We need like some almost like lame people in office that just know how to do things. You know what I'm saying? When the camera come up, they say, "Hey, how you doing?" and keep walking. You know, we get tricked. We've been tricked and gaslighted into being attracted to these personalities. And I'm not going to say that's a foundational Black American thing. I'm going to say that's an American thing. Professor Chris Hedges calls it the cult, and I love the way Chris says this. He says the cult of personality. You don't, and according to Chris Hedges, you don't vote for George W. Bush because he has policy. You vote for George W. Bush because he looks like the guy you want to have a beer with. That's a mistake. That's a mistake because these personalities are manufactured through think tanks. Our brother Mark Carter talks about University of Chicago. Man, one of my areas that I studied in graduate school was educational psychology. Y'all would be surprised how some of these personalities are fucking manufactured. Weaponized personality is what I call it. But I digress. Go ahead, James.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was
Okay,
sending a text. Yes, I can hear you.
okay. Now I go back to what you were saying when you went deep, Professor Allen. You said the red and black natives, the Indians. I think about me down here in Georgia with the red clay. Every time that I got injured or sprained an ankle or something like that, my mother would always grab red clay and put it on my spot that I was injured. It really derived from what my grandmother, what she would do for them, because she had 8 kids and she would do these same methods. So when you went deep, we need more of that. That's more of
Can I drop a nuclear weapon on you right quick? Dr. John Henry Clark said you should never separate a person from his land-based identity. Now, Dr. Clark was talking about Africa, and he meant no harm. Dr. Clark was one of the last groups of Pan Africans who really thought Pan Africanism could work, but that's beside the point. The point is, human beings come from. I want y'all to hear me real well on this, and brace yourself for my next book because I'm talking all about this shit. Human beings have a land-based identity. When you're attached to a land, hear me well. When you're attached to a land long enough, you start to resemble the land. When I went to Ghana and was walking around, Ghana kind of resembled Africans in the strangest way. The clay was deep, dark. It was beautiful, but deep, dark, black. The trees was deep, dark, chocolate. The grass was like little bitty beads, like real tightly curled hair. I see I'm from Alabama. Georgia and Alabama have red clay, right? What does that land remind you of? If you don't know what I'm talking about, look at my picture. This is our land. We've been here the whole time,
Mm,
which is what this debacle is all about, trying to separate us from our land-based identity. The United States of America belongs to us. Take it.
mm.
Skip, I say something.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
name is Darius. From the Crenshaw and Slauson district. I'm a 20-year-old young black man. I just want to add on when you said like, does FBA really have allies? And the answer is no. And especially in California, they're really trying to push this black and brown coalition around here, especially where I live at. And the crazy part about it is most of the polices over here in California are like Hispanic. They don't really mess with black Americans like that. Only if they want something or it benefits them. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to ask Wani about the oh shit. I forgot. Just come back to me, my bad.
Okay. Yeah. How y'all doing today, family?
Hey,
Hey. So yeah, I'd like to echo those sentiments, but also too, I like to echo since I'm down here in Mississippi, and my family's down here. I come from here. My grandmother and my grandfather, they're from Rankin County. Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
no.
Okay, yeah. So my grandparents are from Rankin County, from out of Pearl, and it's just so weird that pertaining to allies, um, I'm in 100% agreement that our allies are just us. There is no one else except us. We are our best allies pertaining to us FBAs, and when I look at our situation, um, we just happen to be dealing with global white supremacy, according to our beloved sister and scholar, Dr. Frances Cress Wesley. And also on that note, um, Dr. Claude Anderson, he said it a long time ago in his book, Black Labor, White Wealth, that yeah, we don't have any allies, so it's just us, you know, and that's fine. We'll be okay. Everybody's panicking right now, pertaining to what's going on and dealing with this situation with the election and Trump and all that. We gonna be okay because we know what we're dealing with
What's the
up front.
situation with Trump?
Oh well, everybody's talking about he's gonna come in and he's gonna do this and he's gonna do that and
What?
yeah. Well, whatever it is he's gonna do, we're not worried about it. We've been here for you know forever. This is us. We won't have a problem dealing with any of that stuff, whether it's Democrat, Republican. It doesn't make any difference. We'll be fine. You know, I've been here. I've been on this earth for 50 years, 50 plus years, and you know, my family, has thrived, you know, through it all, through the ups, the downs, uh, the indifferences, and all the other different, non-chaotic and chaotic things that have happened, here in America. And I'm not leaving. I've people that I talk to, that I went to school with, grade school with. Oh man, it's time to go. I'm going to Puerto Rico. Okay, well, good luck with that, bruh. Or good luck with that, whoever it is. I'm not leaving anywhere. You know, you know, I'm on my family land. I'm on my family land right now in Colombia. I'm on my family land. I'm not going anywhere. This land over in this area is, as far as I can go back, I think to the turn of the century, in the 1890s. So I'm not going nowhere. I'm posted up here like a thumbtack. And anytime that we have, our people coming out and putting in work, with the professor and and brother Tariq and Riza and Nikki, so we just have to, get behind and do what we're supposed to do. Everybody, know their position, whatever that is. Know whatever your position is, and then do the work. Just do the work, and above all, be kind to each other. You know, that's one of my things too. We've had enough of non-kindness coming from everybody else, and all these honorary, so-called whites that come in. There's a lot of them. Across the board. They come in and move into our neighborhoods. Set up shop and get it popping. You know, and that's fine. But we are our best, allies. No one else. No one else. So thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate you, FB Fallon.
You were saying that everybody was saying that Trump was going to do this and that. So you're surrounded by people that wanted Kamala to win.
Yeah, and it was weird, and most of it's coming from the elder class. Um,
Okay.
and I was just like, wow, you guys, have this weird, strange allegiance to to a party that hasn't benefited
I'm
you at all.
I'm confused as why they don't see an alarm going off in their heads with people
It's
running across the border and taking over people's apartments by gunpoint, but they're scared of Trump, who's already been the president for 4 years. I'm confused.
yeah, I'm the same
I'm
way.
more scared about being taken over at gunpoint. That scares me. If I was elderly, I would be scared of that. But they're not. They don't care if the border is wide open. They're just confused. Literally, that is the if we need to start teaching logic and reason and
Yes,
ethics. Ethics, logic, and reason. Because to be that blind, it just makes no sense.
right.
There is an actual danger happening here, an actual, tangible, physical danger. People have been murdered by these people running across the border. Okay,
Yes,
and it's been happening since the Night Stalker that we had in the 80s, who ran across the border and wanted to worship the devil, and did it by killing everybody that he got his hands on. So we've been going through this. This is alarming. Um, I think, was Sir Funk next? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's me.
Sir Funk is
Hey,
next. Go ahead.
Peace in the room. Thanks for having me on. I just wanted to, I just wanted to touch on something that the professor brought up earlier about. Well, first to answer the question whether or not we are in need of allies. No, we're fine. Uh, I feel fortunate that I grew up in Maynard Jackson's Atlanta. That's what I wanted to touch on with you, Professor. I was a kid. I was born in Ohio, and then mom and pop split up, and my mom and me we ended up down in the ATL of Maynard Jackson just as he was getting into office, and and we lived over in Cascade Heights, over by I pretty in the area around what's now Mays High School, and and yeah, no, a lot of it was an entirely solidly upper middle class black neighborhood. Um, you had all your professionals. Uh, uh, David and Shirley Franklin lived like right across the street from us. Hank Aaron lived like 3 streets over. Uh, um, Peebo Bryson had a place like over in there before he moved into Midtown. It was it was the kind. Oh yeah, and and Gladys Knight and her brothers. They also had places, in the area as well. Um,
Hey, I
you
can't hear Sir Funk. I can't hear him.
Can you hear me?
Mm, I can, but the professor can't.
Okay. Uh, I just wanted to. I
They
bring all
messing with
that.
this space today, boy.
You hear me now,
Okay,
Professor?
let him finish real quick.
Okay,
Go
I'll
ahead. He
finish.
can.
Yes, sir.
I'll finish it up with you, Wani, and you can relay whatever sentiments. Um, the thing I just wanted to the thing I wanted to land on was this. I feel fortunate to have lived in an era where you had a mayor like Maynard Jackson, and you had a community, an entirely black, self-sufficient, self-contained community, where we were, where we looked out for each other, where we did for each other, and that we knew that prosperity would be sort of a given. And all this was happening right before the 1980s, and the uh, the genocide that was affected from on high, from the larger white society, about seeing that we could do what we did during the 70s and the 60s, and decided no, they were not going to have any of that. But what what I was left with upon growing up in an environment like that is knowing that yes, we are fully capable of being our own saviors and our own communities in a way that 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 brings on that can be continued and repeated and be successful. And uh, yeah, no, I have plenty of stories about how uh, uh, you would people who were famous and black or successful in black. They were college. They were college administrators like uh, Dr. Mays himself and Dr. Gloucester, who I think was Dr. Gloucester ran. I think he was running Morehouse at the time. Hugh Gloucester, um, and people like that. And it wasn't unusual because there were plenty of other people like that. It wasn't like they were looked at as some sort of anomaly, like they might be in this day and age, because they were just that was just part of how you grew up. And so uh, that's what I wanted to add about the whole experience of being a child growing up in Atlanta or growing up in DC, uh, and seeing successful academics and successful entrepreneurs. It did exist, and it can exist again, and that's something worth striving for. And I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Professor, do you know who's next?
Hey, hold on. I'm busy doing something. Y'all talk for a second.
Okay.
It can I just chime in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I just like to say the only reason I'm on Twitter is to find you guys. And I'm here to love on my people. I love FBA. I just love it. I just wanted to mention about allyship. We're the only people, and if I'm wrong, please someone correct me, that have helped,
Did everyone fall asleep?
She's
every.
talking. Can you hear her, Wani? Can you hear Jersey?
No. Nope.
Jersey, I'm gonna drop you out. I'm gonna bring you right back up, okay?
Okay, okay,
And then we'll let you speak first. Okay.
okay.
Sorry, this app is weird.
Now it won't let me. You have to invite Jersey back up. It won't let me invite her back up. I rebuke the evil space spirit that's trying to mess up this space. Jersey, can you please request because we can't bring you back up? Please request Jersey. I can't mute. No, no, no. Okay, until she comes up, we're gonna go ahead with Savannah. Go ahead and speak, Savannah.
I think 74 might have had to say that. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think 7 Ford had his hand up, or I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. But thank you for the space, everyone. Um, yeah. Do FBAs have real allies? Was Sheila Lee an ally? Um, Sheila Lee, no. Oh my gosh. Um, does everyone remember the staffer that she got caught? I don't know if y'all talked about that. I'm like an hour late. But did y'all talk about the staffer that she berated and there was an audio going around and he had passed away like not too long after?
Um,
Did y'all talk about that? Did you? I couldn't understand you, Wani.
yes, I remember. I
Oh,
remember she did that. She's controlled opposition. That's why she had a, decades long reparations, whatever she was doing.
yeah. I mean, that and then just the overall the benign neglect, right? And how everybody looked at her to be like, oh wow, she's lead us to great things, and to see that her daughter took over. What that reminds me of is what happened in Ohio with Joyce Beatty. She took over the position of her husband, and what I know Joyce to do yearly is like this Rosa Parks event, just like honoring Rosa Parks, remembering Rosa Parks. But like other than that, like they're not really doing anything to continue to like to provide and to like mend what they messed up within the black community here in Columbus. Like Columbus used to be like the Bronx, like the Harlem. Like it used to be. This was like the stop where all the black celebrities used to come to, um, especially if you were somebody in the entertainment industry. It's not like that anymore, and they purposely did that to drive away people from the quote unquote economy here. And the best way they did it was by placing a highway right in the smack dab middle of things, particularly or like strategically within the black community, like a highway dead, like cut through the middle, eminent domain and all, right? And so I think with that, it's like these people have been in office for years. They don't go anywhere. They don't do anything, and yet when they pass on, the people don't get the chance to vote anyone in. They just get their legacy to take over, and their legacy go on to do the same thing that they've done, which is to put, they push policies that hurt the community further, and they don't do anything to justify it or to redirect it because they know people are so stupid they'll just continue to vote them in, and people won't see anything completed, right? I worked for a nonprofit, obviously can't name drop it because NDA, but like this nonprofit was so annoying with it because they would use the plight that was going on within the black community to get grants, and they were getting millions of dollars, especially during COVID. They milked COVID because it was a perfect opportunity, right? People weren't getting internet access. How do we fix that, right? But they want to, turn the city into a smart city. But with that being said, they want to they want they want to push smart cars, right? But the thing is, how are you going to teach people to get a smart car? But a lot of people barely know how to use their smartphone, right? I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who would like to be on this app, but they are afraid and don't know how to use it, right? So come on, like smart cars, that's like the least of people's worries right
Hey,
now.
Wani, is somebody talking?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't
Okay,
think
I can't
anybody
hear
can
him.
hear me. I'll drop
It
down.
was Savannah. This app is weird. You can't hear some people. I can't hear. I could hear her, but I couldn't hear the other person.
It's
So,
called Divide and Conquer.
7th Ward.
Okay, now I can't hear
Yeah.
anyone.
Can you hear me?
Oh, wait a minute.
I can hear you,
I
bro.
can.
Seventh Seventh Ward, can we let Jersey speak just for a second? Because she
No
all
problem.
right, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, brothers and sisters. Oh, goodness, I'm so excited. Ooh, 2024 has been a good year. I used to be a Democrat, no more. Hey, shackles off. Oh, so much has been going on that has been inspiring me. I am here to love on me and mine because I had noticed as I was growing up, and I grew up, parents were NOI, we embraced the Sunnah, we, boycotted the KFCs and the corporations for apartheid. We wouldn't buy diamonds because of what was happening in Sierra Leone. We wouldn't support this. We wouldn't do that. We're the only people that will willingly get you up out the muck and the mire and ask for nothing in return. Nothing. We didn't go to South Africans after apartheid was abolished and said, okay, now we're taking over the oil fields because we gave you democracy. Okay, broke my heart when Nelson Mandela came to New York to speak, and he didn't mention foundational Black Americans one time as he was thanking people. Even Castro stayed in Harlem. He I'm sorry, I know I get emotional, but this is years of being repeatedly heartbroken because you think you have an ally. You think you have a person that understand. They tell you they understand, right? They sit in your house, you can't go into theirs. You open your home up in your hearts, our community. We are the most thoughtful, compassionate, empathetic people on this planet and the most abused and forgotten. It is time. This is not punitive. This is a blessing. We gave you all those lessons, all those resources. Go home and build it. The plan was never to have Africans and Caribbeans come over here and stay. What we said is that you come over here because we know that you have been mistreated, imperialism. Come over here and get some power. We're going to invest in your success so you could go home and get ready for the gods. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. I just want to say that thank you, every last one of you. I truly, truly, truly am blessed to be FBA. And for the people that are non FBA that are in here, it is not punitive. It's time for the FBA to think about ourselves for once in our lives. Go home. Let us do what we need to do. We've given enough. We've given enough. No more vampirism. I'll land. Thank you so much, brothers and sisters.
Okay, seventh.
All right, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So Miss Wanda, you were talking about why the blacks in Latin America, why they don't get their stuff together down there. Well, there was somebody who was trying to do that. Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez was a black, and he was trying to with the Bolivarian Revolution and everything, and
I've heard his name before. Tell me more about him.
yeah. He in Venezuela, with the Bolivarian Revolution, and he was of black and native descent. That's probably why they ganged up on him, and he was making reforms, economic reforms, and he was eliminating the poverty down there. But he died of cancer, and a lot of other Latin American leaders, they also got cancer too. Coincidence, maybe, but yeah. So, and he tried to reach out to Black America in his own way. So yeah. So, but some people have tried, but they've met
Now,
some mysterious deaths.
was he? That's interesting. I'm going to have to look him up. Now, was he speaking about the colorism issue that I was talking about, or was he just speaking about poverty in general?
I think he was only speaking about the poverty in general, but he being of non-white,
Mm-hmm.
he was helping them as well.
Okay. I'm going to check him out because I do remember that name.
Hello, peace, family, peace, everyone. I just wanted to say real quick about the Hugo Chavez. He was born around 1954. I don't know if he was openly Native and Black, um, but he was kind of like moniker behind Martin Luther King, and he created like this socialist government in Venezuela, and that's kind of like the precipice of like the issues that's going on now. Um, and then that like created like these laws that other nations put on Venezuela because of how he was actually running the government. So I don't know what his like him saying that he was trying to reach out to us. And my like even in the Latin
He
communities,
like he was doing it in his own way. He was giving away free oil and gas to poor people, and some of those people were black. Like I said, he was doing it in his own way.
but in America,
Wait,
Yes.
he was giving gas to black people in America?
that's it. Don't
Well,
they?
not
That's
just
not.
Wh-
black people, but poor
Why
people.
didn't I
So
get any?
He was moniker
Fill
after
up my
Martin Luther
tank.
King. So just like how we were just talking about how people, like they'll kind of like come around us and then kind of like, they kind of see what we're doing. It was kind of like that with Hugo Chavez. But, you know, his policies are kind of like the reason why we even having this situation right now in America. How he was kind of running the government, and it so it's kind of like trickling down, especially in the blue states. Um, this socialism type of thing. And I don't think that is good. I don't really necessarily believe in socialism, but our mayor believes in socialism. He actually trying to get like free like government grocery stores and government banks and all this other weird stuff. I don't
Weird
necessarily believe in that. I think because if you look at Venezuela, they were so even though they were a rich nation, they were so dependent on their country that they didn't, it was like they looked to the country instead of kind of like looking to themselves, and so they was just under the mercy of the government. So I just wanted to say I didn't understand that part what he was saying, but I did want to
that was
just
the
say
sanctions that crippled Venezuela.
right because he was taking people land and claiming it as the
He was
government.
taking the whites' land, the white
No,
people's land.
I don't think that. I think he was doing that to his own citizens. People were starving, and farmers who own land, their land was being confiscated, and a
Or
lot of them wasn't, they were not being able to even farm and like do like farm their land and grow their own food. It started to become like, I mean, that's what I read. um I just wanted to say though, do FBAs have allies? No, we do not. um I'm like, I'm still kind of like in this, it's this documentary that I kind of like watch over and over again. It's called The Negro in the Middle Class Negro. It's on YouTube, and it shows blacks in around like 1967. Was it 1967, I think, or 69? One of those. We were still considered Negroes when this documentary came out. It was actually narrated by um what's his name? He just passed away. Uh Darn it, I forgot his name. But anyway, the point is that we had a lot of black owned businesses in the 60s and the
It
70s.
wasn't James Earl Jones, was it?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. And the documentary is so, like, I even take notes and just watch it over and over again because it shows how we were operating before like mass immigration in about the 1980s, because this was like, I think, I don't know if this was 1967 or it was around after, like right around after like the civil rights movement. Black Americans were really working together, and they were, even though we did have this separation with the black middle class, in the documentary you can see black Americans still reaching down. Like, we had anti-poverty programs, and a lot of these like middle class blacks, they were educated, they were lawyers, they were businessmen, and even though they did have that little separation, they were, enacting their own independent programs, like without government assistance. Okay. These weren't 501c3 programs, and they were using these programs to funnel Black Americans into education, jobs, resources. Our churches even used to do that at one point. And then you see this, and then like towards the 80s, you see this mass immigration come in. And it's another documentary too. I don't know if you guys want to see it. It's about I'm gonna find it and put it in the little pill thing. It's about Chicago and when the Palestinians came. Okay, so that's another thing. They want us to be allies, but they don't necessarily see the harm sometimes that they can put on our community. So it's one of this. First of all, in the 1980s and the 1990s, when I was younger and I went to like chicken spots, they was all black owned. I didn't go to no every when I was in the 90s. We had multiple black owned chicken spots. Then next thing you know, in the 80s, in the 90s, we had this shift. And then you had like the drug epidemic, and now all of our stores that was owned by black mom and pops, the candy stores, the chip stores. I remember when I grew up in the 80s, every store I went to in the morning after school, they was all black owned. Then all of a sudden in the 80s and 90s, they gone. You got all this drugs going on, right? Scaring off, honestly. What was going on was that they were scaring off the black owned businesses, and they weren't protecting them. Our government officials weren't protecting them. And then when the Palestinian immigrants came in our community, they were allowing drugs to be sold in our community. They were also giving our children and people poisonous food. They was giving them some of these places. Okay, I can't even go in, but the point is, no, we do not have allies even right now in the present, in the future. I mean, in the present, because I'm hoping for the future that we, get awareness around this. But right now, in the present, we have black owned businesses, even in Chicago right now, that's trying, they have to be on their best behavior. Storefronts got to be good. Food got to be perfect. And they next door to an immigrant store, and it's nasty. They're not keeping it clean. They're allowing stuff to happen. They're bringing these things in our community. And so it's like, oh, and get back to the documentary. So this documentary was in the 90s, and they was talking about these Palestinians, and how they were coming in our community opening up stores, and how the stores, they were being racist, calling us the N-word. And on one part, like, it was one scene where these black kids, they was like, black woman, she was like, yeah, they called me the N-word. And then the Palestinian man was like, I'm an N-word too. I'm your brother. I'm your brother. See, we all N-words. See? And then it kind of
Well,
like confused the little kids. They was, I mean, and then people was kind of just looking like confused. But see, they use this allyship to come and do these things. And so, I just feel like a lot of them really need to understand that people want us to, pick up their issues, but then you come and you see these people in our community and they're causing these very issues. Like, and nobody says nothing. Nobody says a word. Like, even right now with these businesses in our community, we constantly, you drive past in our communities and you see these abandoned buildings. Most of these abandoned buildings are owned, personally, privately owned by investors who refuse to let us even rent. I've tried, and people have told my husband, I don't eat, these are immigrants, Chinese immigrants, Palestinian immigrants. Told my husband, you're a drug dealer. Or it's either the drug dealer, I don't want to deal with you, you can't rent out the storefront, or it's uh I want half of your what's the name? I want your rent. We got that too. From these people that come into our community talking about some, they are allies. I want the rent, and I want 50% of the money that you make. And they be doing stuff like that in our community. So no, we do not have allies. And I also wanted to touch on our elders and how they're kind of like under this, like, we are the world spell. I'm praying that they one day can wake up, because I even just noticed in black communities, they don't build up these elderly institutions. Like, I be going past these elderly rec centers angry, because they still look like the 1967 with the documentary. That it's like we're like our institutions are kind of like stuck right there in 1967. You go up north, you go in these affluent neighborhoods, everything is up to date. They're getting development, and we're not. But we supposed to be allies for everybody else. I land my plane.
Oh, that was a lot. It was all
It
true.
was intense.
Okay, but nobody is feeding anyone any food. I don't like those words. You are buying rotten food from rotten people. You are willingly buying rotten food from rotten people. And yes, I grew up the same way. All the stores were black. The candy man was black. Everybody was black. And then they weren't for different reasons. A lot of different reasons. A lot of mom and pop stores crumbled during those times. We had um, out here, we had Newberry's and Woolworth. We had these big department stores that put those tiny stores out of business. And then the only people that really wanted to do those types of stores are those nasty people that moved into the neighborhood. It's such a difference to go into a candy store and to have the owner of the store know which candy you're going to ask for. Yes, I would like some Chico sticks and the candy necklace and bracelet. And they already know. But then the new people moved in and they just sneered. And that's when I turned about 14, I never walked into another store like that again. That's your choice. You can be called a nigger by somebody who just drugged their raggedy ass across the border to have refuge from messes that they made. I'm not going to have anybody calling me any name. Number one, no one. So if you go in there and somebody calls you a name and you go back in there, you are that name. If you keep eating rotten food from rotten people, then I guess you deserve it, because it's totally some sort of mental illness. I have one in my this is my play cousin. She's married, she has money and a car, and yet she continues to go to this store where this lady doesn't treat her right. And I'm like, why don't you just go to another store? It's some kind of psychological thing. She wants to go in there and be treated nice by a nasty Indian woman. Is that what she's saying? I don't understand it. You're going in there to get some dollar plates when you don't even need to. What are you doing in there? Some kind of S&M or something. You want to be berated. You want to be called a name. You want to point out and all the other things. Grown ass people saying crazy things like, um, they keep trying to cheat me and I caught him. Oh, I caught that guy. He tried to cheat me out of $5. And why do you keep going in there and catching him 50,000 times cheating you? You deserve to be cheated. Like, why do you have to go in there with a calculator? Somebody literally told me they went into the store with a calculator because the Arab guy cheated them. Ah, why are you going there? I don't understand it. I would make all kinds of arrangements to not go into that store. Being called names, being cheated, and being given rotten food when you're paying higher prices. I'd make all kind of arrangements to avoid that.
Again, it goes back to what Dr. Wade Noble said about psyche. Your psychology, psyche, your soul, you've been damaged, spiritually damaged. And what I think I almost don't want to say this idea. I'm gonna put this shit in my next book. Wanting, fuck, I'm gonna say it. Um, it goes back to being damaged. Um, Let me roll my window up. It's kind of loud. Yeah. So when somebody's abused as a child in a particular way, I'm being codified. Studies show, I learned in grad school that abuse abuse produces abuse. So the question is why? Well, human beings, the mind is strange. Sometimes you want to try to, according to what I learned in grad, when you're abused as a child, you want to abuse somebody because you're trying to get that innocence back, right? So I have a theory on that. What you're talking about with your cousin keep going in a shopping store trying to. We've been so damaged by the system of supremacy and by proxy white supremacy that some of us keep going into these places out of somehow the wishful hope that they're going to say, I'm sorry or give you an apology. And it's never going to happen. I had an aunt I love dearly that used to do that. She went to a store called Cotton's in Birmingham, Alabama, and it sold high priced, church lady stuff, church lady hats and stuff, $500 hats for the church ladies. Was Cotton a black man? No, white guy. And he called my aunt ugly. Said, "You ugly." She used to spend $500 on hats. Said, "You look ugly anyway in a hat." I wish I was old enough. I'd have beat the shit out of his goddamn ass. But my aunt she was beautiful, but she was chocolate. I like chocolate girls, but she was real beautiful in chocolate back in the 80s and 90s. But she kept going in there. And my mom and family would be like, "Why you keep going in there?" But it was the same thing Juani's talking about is I think my auntie used to go in there out of the hope that one day he's gonna say, you know what? You've been a loyal customer and I've been really mean to you. That's that gaslighting we learned from sitcoms and shit. That's not real life. Some of these motherfuckers get off on me. You know what? Let's go there. Let's hit a little Dr. Amos Wilson. Amos Wilson said, I'm paraphrasing him now. He said, "Black people, stop inculcating what these people do to you." Inculcate means to swallow it and become the nigga, right? Um, James Baldwin said the nigga's an invention. Sip on that for a minute. Um, but Dr. Amos Wilson said, stop inculcating what these people do. Stop wondering what you did wrong. Dr. Amos Wilson said, how about you did nothing wrong and these people are just pathological? We're dealing with pathological people, guys. The history is in the mysteries in the history. All we gotta do is look back to where these motherfuckers came from. These people came from the Georgia Corporation, wherein Captain James Oglethorpe sent lunatics to America to keep the black and red down. You think that lunatic gene just magically went away because people got class behind their name? Shit. A normal person doesn't blow up little girls at church. That's a goddamn lunatic. Fuck what he says. Don't inculcate it. Futures, what's on your mind? I think that says futures. I can't see that. I ain't got my glasses on. Don't know where they are.
Futures. Futures.
Yeah, Futures B. What's on your mind? All right. While Futures is getting his connection together, let's hear from fuck something. FUCK
Hello.
something.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello.
I can hear you,
Yes, I
bro.
can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. My name says "fuck all white pigs." So that's that. But I just wanted to start the conversation off by saying peace and blessings to all my brothers and sisters. Um, and I want to say, when I look at the black community in America, it kind of reminds me of Israel in the Bible, a united people under God against many enemies. Um, and we are a very spiritual and compassionate people. But right now, we are at war, and we must always remember that. Um, I also want to say that these conversations, to me, are equivalent basically to the conversations that people were having during like the civil rights movement, except this is like more important because this is kind of like a modern self ethnicity movement. And yeah, I feel like some of our black people do come from the transatlantic slave trade, and some of our people are indigenous here as well, because there's a lot of statistics and numbers that go into that, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But there are studies that say we're indigenous here and that we're genetically unique through bone and blood. um, a lot of our black people have been indoctrinated. Many black people in America don't see lineage; they only see color, and that's the reason I feel like the people who did want. I'm not really political, but I was gonna say the people who did want Kamala to win, they kind of maybe felt like she was black just off color, but when we had our people break it down by lineage, it made sense a lot more, and that's the reason that these conversations um are very important, to make our people aware of things like that. um I feel like many of our people are too open to the opinions of other cultures and ethnicities of other people, so we internalize that instead of internalizing our own culture the most. So we definitely need to keep preaching delineation and, you know, black nationalism, and how we're our own people and separate from, just people who are black as well, or the black species but are not of our race. You know. Um, I feel like we've always been a spiritually connected and united people. And, the white man preaches that America had many tribes, but there's evidence that, the Mississippi culture stretched all the way from the southern portion of the United States all the way up until the northern portion. So there's a lot of evidence of, people being connected together, and, not as much, division as they preach to us. How Africa has many tribes who are warring, but it's not really. I don't really feel like it was necessarily the same with our people. And I feel like what we're doing now is pretty much continuing on the jobs of our ancestors, because you had Tulsa it's a renowned story, the town of Tulsa, but there was a lot of other towns just like Tulsa. And I feel like our ancestors saw that separating themselves and building wealth locally within their own communities was, the way to really do things and get ahead as a people. And you see
Well,
that.
ladies, I don't want to cut you short, brother, but the show is about to end. I got another prior appointment. I want to say thank you all for stopping through. Hold on one second. Let Wani up. Wani, you got kicked off. Hey, Wani, you there? Oh wow, that is interesting. It said there's a problem adding you. They are messing with this. Okay, there you go. Oh wow. So Wani, what I'm gonna do is give you co-host again. Let's see if that works. Wani, I thought you left for Tariq's show. I was about to end the show to go find Tariq's show. That's funny. I was like, oh, there it goes.
Yes, I
Hey,
got
Wani,
kicked
can you hear
out.
me?
I think it kicked
Yeah.
her out again.
Oh
Did it
my God.
did it kick you out? Tariq didn't start a space, did he?
No.
Oh, okay. My bad, guys. I thought Tariq started space. That's why I was about to end it. But I didn't know she got kicked out. But I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead and land your plane. The gentleman is just talking.
Oh yeah. I was just saying, yeah, there's a lot of towns like Tulsa. You know, we know about Tulsa. And pretty much, yeah, our ancestors were saying, you know, we should come together and pretty much, you know, fund our own communities and educate ourselves. And, you know, clearly they felt some type of way about that because that was one of the, you know, the first domestic terrorism bombings on American soil against our own people. You know, these people dropped bombs on Tulsa. So, I mean, you know, that just shows you how serious us
You
coming
bring up
together.
a good point. But back to do we have any friends? Malcolm X, our brother Malcolm X brought up a really good point that just gets lost in history. Every once in a while somebody brings it up, but I'm paraphrasing it. But he said, "Why would you let your enemies educate you?" I've seen this shit my whole career. Like we send our children to these schools from secondary ed all the way to fucking college around these professors who don't know as much as them. Let me say that shit one more motherfucking time. We send them to these professors and these teachers who don't know as much as the children know, especially on the college side, man. These professors don't know anything for real. A lot of them don't. You know, they're being they indoctrinate children. But that's I don't want to get Nikki's space canceled by talking about that. I've seen a lot of indoctrination on the college side, but I digress. My point is, we need to educate our own kids, which comes to do we have any real allies? No. We need to be our allies. We need to bring back, I think it's called SU. SU is when you, the whole community raises money and let's pay somebody who, you know, got a degree in education or something that just couldn't stand the school system. It's a whole bunch of us that got teaching licenses that say, fuck this and go to law school, go to med school, go to nursing school, you know. I'm on my way, y'all. You know, hire one of us. You know, pay us $40,000 a year. That's nothing. You know, $100 here and there from everybody, and let us borrow a library or a church, and let us start our own school. You know,
Oh my, I just want to say real quick that I mean, I don't know what's going on in the red states, but in the blue states, we're so suppressed. It's just like we're trying to do stuff like that, but these 501c3, these churches and these organizations, they're like connected to, like, you know, and it's like if they see you grassroots, they will not mess with you. So now we're like we're steady trying to connect with these churches. You know, it's so crazy because the church was the pillar of our community, like
now
that.
that's the prime, Doctor Your Highness. That's the primary vector of fucking attack. Our brother Mark Carter talks about that shit. And
Mhm.
I found that shit out 2 years ago when I was professor and administrator over. I did the COVID-19 study that I'm gonna talk about one of these days in Memphis and the Mississippi Delta. And a lot of the data I got, I found out right quick that a lot of the churches in the black community were responsible for having sessions where they gave the jab to people. And that kind of caught me off guard. I was like, whoa. And I went to one of these mega churches at the time. We broke the spell. I said, whoa, wait a minute. The jab's not even fully studied. Like, why? Because in my view, I'm from Alabama, raised Baptist. I kind of viewed pastors as people who look after the well-being and health of the congregation, right? A shepherd protects his flock, is what I heard as a child. And when I found out these pastors were having, you know, days where they gave the jab to their congregation, I sent an alert up. I was like, wait a minute, the jab's not fully studied yet. Why are they doing that? And I found out that these pastors was getting money for doing it. And I saw the matrix. I was like, the one of the primary vectors attack of attack in the black community is a damn church. It didn't used to be. The church used to be a place where criminals ran to get refuge, where homeless went to get fed, where children went to get taught. But somewhere in the 70s or 80s, and I remember it as a child, I'm an 80s baby. I remember in the 90s, like this prosperity gospel bullshit. Even as a child, I knew it was wrong. I was like, wait a minute. Professor Chris Hedges says you don't need a degree from Harvard Divinity School to know that Jesus didn't come to get you a Mercedes Benz. But that's what I heard when I was a child is, yeah, you come on, praise the Lord with me. You can have as much money as you want. Those two things don't necessarily mix. Matter of fact, the more spiritual, I'm sure our sister Wani will attest, the more spiritual you become, the less I hear this a lot. The more spiritual you become, the more closer to God you become, the less you are attached to things. So many different religions say that. I don't know if it's true or not. What do you think about that, Wani? Is that true?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that
But remember,
go
the
ahead.
deal is we live in a material world, so we need material things. That's not debatable. But the attachment and focus on those things takes away from other things that are more important. And it also causes a lot of stress and fights.
Yeah, I went to church in Birmingham with a lady. This pastor, she got her husband died in a he. You know, a lot of people in Birmingham work in the factory. You know, her husband died in the factory. A big piece of steel hit him, took him out. He had a little girl and a wife. And his wife, the woman, the wife, donated like 120,000 out the settlement check to the church. Right, so she comes down the next couple months, wasn't long, with real far stage cancer. Um, bad. I remember that's one of my earliest memories in the '90s. And she had given her money away to the church and bought a couple cars and whatnot, but she was taking up donations to get her medicine. And that fucking pastor didn't give a shit. He bought a Mercedes Benz. And then I went off to college and went to another church, and the pastor I had a fucking Bentley. That don't have nothing to do with divinity. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because the church has been compromised. Now, if y'all catch Mark Carter in a space, it would behoove you to ask him, like, hey, you can put my name in and say, Professor told me that you said the church has been compromised. Ask him why, and he'll give you a real lesson on that shit that I concur with. Um, Wani, who is next? I don't have my glasses on. I'm in the woods.
Did futures get to speak or
No, they didn't.
oh,
Oh no, Future didn't. I don't think he did. Go ahead, Futures.
because I know he was trying. Okay, go ahead, Savannah. I don't think you can
Okay.
hear.
Um. So to stay on topic. So basically, when I brought up the Sheila Lee Jackson and her legacy taking on her role, and basically her legacy is just going to do the same thing she did. Benign neglect. Um. And I see it here in Ohio with Joyce Beatty, our congresswoman. She took on the role from her husband, and I feel like they scream so much about democracy. How is that democracy when we don't get to vote in um, the next leaders, right? They make sure they pick the people who will pick and share their message, right? The Black Caucus has become more of the immigrant caucus, right? And forever, we are always the ones on the front line um, for any example, war, politics, any type of new, improved, quote unquote, drug that they want to push out. They use us. We're the guinea pigs. And it's like, for me, I always used to get in trouble with Kojic, Church and God in Christ. Because as a kid, I used to always ask, like, why are we allowing this? Or why do we do this? But we preach this. And for me, I didn't know that was, quote unquote, disrespectful, right? But like you said, it wasn't always like this. I remember we had a pastor at the church, my main home church, that was very different compared to the one that we have now, right? He has a very nice car, a very nice Bentley, and had a I'm about to say Aston Martin. I forget the name of the car, but anyway, it's not necessary. It's not needed. And I think for one, it's like when you think about it, where do we all go and get our information to be on the same page, right? Is there many places? it used to be the church, and I think they recognized that, right? That if you want to catch everybody, go to the church or, the quote unquote barbershop. Um, and when you look at the church and how they co-opted it, they introduced those 501c3s, those tax statuses that incentivize pastors to maybe not go along with the quote unquote politics thing, right? And if you didn't want to get aligned with that, then they mess with your church. Look at Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth. The KKK stuck dynamite in between his house and his church all the way through the whole house, and it blew up his whole house. I mean, he wasn't touched. I mean, that's God, right? But that's how desperate they were to make sure that they got control of the church, right? And so it's like you can't really trust any church person because they're all going to go along with the people that's paying them, right? And so boom, they got that. Somebody mentioned the whole Venezuela thing and socialists. When you look at Hugo Chavez, and when you look at all the programs that they put out, those programs that they were able to put out, like you said, they were good, they were nice, and they were only as good as the money, right? But as soon as Venezuela lost their check on being the controllers of oil, that all went away, right? And so the people who relied on the government, the people who didn't want to create businesses, the people who didn't want to become self-reliant were the ones that were hurt when it was all said and done. But Hugo Chavez and his family was cool. Hugo Chavez's daughter is one of the richest people in Venezuela, right? These people who scream socialism, socialism, socialism is cool as long as you're making the decisions and you're in control and you're in power. Because in order for it to really work, you really need a quote unquote dictatorship in order to make sure everybody fall in line. And I feel like that's the dangerous part of it all because a lot of our older folks, they get so caught up in the whole socialist part because maybe they never went to school with or never met anyone who went to school or not went to school, but or maybe is from Venezuela, right? We're in a different day and age where a lot of these cats are coming over, so we're not getting the story from quote unquote Fox. We're talking to these people directly, and so they're telling us what's what from get go. So we're not falling for the propaganda. We're not falling for the misinformation. But I think what's happening is that um, our older folks, like somebody said, they're stuck in a spell, and they get so caught up with wanting to quote unquote please the white man, and it's quite frankly it's rubbed down on so many of us, right? It's like we're looking for approval, we're looking for them to quote unquote co-sign everything that we want to do, but it's like why do we keep looking for their cosign? Throughout history, every time we bring them in, every time we quote unquote look for the good one, they always disappoint us. But so it's like, why do we keep doing that? We don't need their quote unquote help. We don't need their quote unquote approval on anything that we decide to do. And I think it's very, very disheartening when we see our people um, fall for the shenanigans and become just like white people when it comes to one of us, when it comes to our own downfalls. Like we don't give each other grace. We've been through so much, even as the Jim Crow, redlining, till this day, we're still the number one populated in prisons, and yet our allies don't want to talk about it. Our allies don't want to talk about how the prison system has just become the slavery system, and yet they're so quick to like point their fingers like, oh, you guys are so lazy, but it's like you literally are coming in and you're taking away from our opportunities. Our parents didn't have to fight for the Arabs. They didn't have to fight the Chinese. They didn't have to fight the Koreans. They didn't have to fight the Indians. They didn't have to fight all these different people for different positions. We do. And so it's very disheartening to hear that they're not thinking about the quote unquote future. They don't care that we have so much competition, and yet they didn't do what they had to do when they were our ages to make sure that we had something going for ourselves. And that's why I think I was really tuned into like authority space when he was talking about that. Like, give yourself grace. Like, ask your parents what were they doing, right? I mean, I want to say, yeah, I was really proud to hear that my dad, with the dough money that they did, and got, that yes, they didn't go and buy a lot of restaurants, and so because of that, a lot of people were able to go and own their own chicken spots. There's only like one main chicken spot in Cleveland that my dad is still is working with, and whatnot. But like everybody else is gone. There is no more Hassas Williams. There is no more. I mean, you got B&Ms, but B&Ms is not the same. And I think that's been like the biggest thing is that like we have no more entrepreneurial spirit. Everybody wants to just think that we can live off of what they're quote unquote giving us, the pennies, right? The welfare systems, which were not even created for us, right? We talk so much about South Africa. We created those welfare systems because white South Africans laughed at America because they had so many poor white people after the Great Depression, right? So FDR put in those New Deal programs because it was like, yeah, we have to get our white people out of poverty. They didn't even want to give us any of that. They didn't, right? And so I think the biggest issue that our people have is that when we don't know something, we're bound to just fall for the same okey doke. And it's like I'm not gonna say school is everything and school is anything, but like I had to get out of my environment in order to see that hey, maybe what we've been doing for so long isn't correct because it was very very in my face. Oh, Democrat, vote blue no matter who, vote blue no matter who, love who you love who you want to love. What else? Just all this messaging that's taking us away from being a quote unquote stronger people. And it's like getting us to quote unquote hate ourselves, hate our identities. Like, and I think that was the biggest thing where it's like I stopped straightening my hair. I started, focusing more on my natural hair. And like it's like I cut it off like a couple times and it's grown back. And it's just like, why, why is it that we are why can't we just all come together and just be on the same idea that like we all don't have it, but it's like as long as we're all trying to get on the same page, let's move, right? And I think it's very disingenuous when we bring people and we don't check them right on, right? We don't check the people, and we are when I say don't check the people, if we're not checking the paperwork, because I kind of came in and Dr. Professor, you were talking about doing background checks on people, and I'm like, yeah, that's very, very important, right? Because there are a lot of people who get on this app who basically use it as a way to just try to quote unquote scam people, and I think that's been the biggest issue on this app is that people use and see the passion that a lot of people have, they take it, and then they disrupt it, and I think that's been the biggest thing is that people can't people can't people can't people get so irritated when they see somebody get it and it's working for them, and so then therefore they have to create all these scenarios to go after them, and I think that's what we've been seeing, and it's disheartening because it's like how are we going to get anywhere when we see a person that's figured out the formula, who's getting it, who's gotten it, and yet why not go to that person to get game? And I think that's what I like most about this app is that there you can really if you really take a just take a time, look out, take a time, you'll really start to see who the bad players are when it's all said and done, because it's the same thing over and over. Um and I think that's just been my biggest thing with all this. It's like fuck our allies shit. We got disruptors with our own group, quote unquote skin folk, Sheila Lee. We can go on and on about, how much she was a disruptor to our community. And so I think that's been the biggest thing. It's just like everybody should know a little bit about something, right? Because when they try to push this socialism crap on us, talk to anybody from a socialist country. They come to America for a reason. They don't want to be there, right? Talk to anybody that's, um, I mean, they're, for God's sakes, they're risking their lives, right? They're like, they're they rather die than stay in their socialist country. So I think just common sense, right? And then really just looking at patterns and just looking at people who are really doing it. Like my rule of thumb is, why would you take advice from why would you take advice from someone who isn't already doing it and who hasn't already been in position to do it and is not successful, right? Don't take advice from someone is just a hater and just talking just to talk, and they haven't really produced on anything. And I think that's just the biggest thing, because a lot of black women, they are just so ignorant, and they're so insufferable in the sense that because they look so much for the validation. And I mean, this are some of our black men too. but they look so much in validation from other groups that they don't see that it's harming their own groups, right? You see a lot of these social quote unquote warrior justice leaders, and yet you look at their households and they're messy. Why would we take advice from people who don't even have their own household in order, right? So when I say background checks, not just the paperwork, but just look at their overall character and morals. Why I would rather take advice from someone who's taking care of their kids, they're taking care of their household, and also taking care of their community, right? We talk about, socialism, this, that, and the third. Capitalism can work, right? Because if you can put yourself in a position to put other people in position, then you're doing something. You're being productive, right? You're putting money in people's pockets. I'd rather you put money in people's pockets than steal, right? And I think that's my biggest thing. Is principle. It's all about the principle. I'll give anybody this shirt off my back, but principle. We have to figure out a principle on things, and I think that's the biggest thing is that we don't want to check our leaders and make sure that their house is clean. And I think we have to make sure houses are clean before we continue on in this movement. I'm all over the place, but we talking so much. But yeah, thank you. I ended my plan.
Yeah, thank you for the submission, Savannah. I agree with you for the most part. Um, Sweep around your own front door before you sweep around mine. Welsing, what's on your mind?
No, I had to step away for about an hour and a half, and I wanted to share something with you, an experience that was eye-opening for me. I think it was in 2022. I flew to Newark, New Jersey, and met DJL at the Newark Reparations rally there, and had an opportunity to talk to Newark's mayor, Ross Baraka, Amiri Baraka's son, and Dominic DePrima's half brother, and also Cory Booker. And DJ's not in the room, but if he was here, he would actually validate this. Those two men, when they were asked about reparations, and I'm not lying to you, turned their backs on both of us and walked away. Like this Cory Booker, former mayor of Newark, New Jersey, now a senator for the state of New Jersey, a foundational Black American, and Mayor Ross Baraka. Again, both men, politicians that have influence, nothing on reparations when asked. Not a thing. I was like, wow. Wow, look at that. I'm like, as I'm talking to you, I could see Cory Booker he just walked away. And Ross Baraka walked away. He just disappeared. And so it's just time to hold these politicians accountable. There's an APAC tracker website. You can take a look at your state and see if you have any Black politicians that are in the House or the Senate, and if they are taking money from APAC, because any politician, any Black politician taking money from APAC, it's a wrap. They are not for you and for the Black community at all. They're not. And so, as I'm listening to you with the image of Ross Baraka and Cory Booker, comes to mind. It was amazing. It was amazing to see those two men just walk. They literally, I'm telling you, they just walked away. Didn't want to talk about it, but they were at a reparations rally. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you all, as always. Thank you for your submission, Welsing. Anybody else want to come up and speak? Going once, going twice. Well, I really enjoyed y'all today, and I look forward to continuing this tomorrow. Y'all forgive the couple days I took off. I'm still in the middle of the move. Me and my wife we pulled over somewhere outside of Atlanta because we're both sleepy as hell. So we're gonna take a quick nap.
Right now?
Yeah, I'm on the road.
Oh my goodness.
This has been the craziest. I mean,
These long drives are
I don't
terrible.
ever want to see a long drive again. Like Wani,
You've been doing this a couple of times a week.
yes, and like where I am now,
Oh my
Wani. Let me
goodness.
tell you where I am. If I have to go back to Memphis, I'm getting on an airplane.
I don't believe
I'm
you.
getting on a fucking airplane. Like I'm done. So I appreciate y'all. I thought this room was fucking intense. Maybe I'm sleepy, but this was heavy.
It's very nice.
I enjoyed y'all, and tune in tomorrow for the next topic. Any last words, Wani?
Good night.
Good night.